Ooh, we're live. Live. We are now using a different Discord because I found my old Discord and it's much more put together. Which device? Um, Now we want to go to live. We are live. Cool. Now we're going to invite people. Oh, wait, edit invite link. How about never? Generate a new link. Copy that. And let's try to. Bitrate is what it is. Not gonna complain about that. Let's put on one more song.
Went outside, I got beans and some big old fire. I'ma shoot your bitch ass, keep crossing the line. Catch it like a fisherman. I'm that guy, and I feel like a turkey. I'm that fly. Got a big AR, but this one's not mine. And it's hot outside, so put the guns inside. Bitch, everyone, yeah, bitch, it's hot like a fever. Came through once, now I don't even need it. Bitch, where my fish to catch, I can't see her. I'ma do a backflip, hold my beer. I'ma catch your little bitch like a fish, little bitch. You know shit about shit, nigga. I'ma pull up, shoot a nigga in the bottom lip, nigga. Talking crazy, we gon' pull up like the Power Rangers, nigga. Yeah, we pulling up like 1, 2, 3. And your bitch so bad, she gon' S my D. And the bag so fat, so at math, I'm elite. Little bag so fast, it's like the cash ran free.
Other rappers pay for plays, I just pay for fishing bait. Sipping beer and smoking J's, man, I love the USA. Clean my rifles every day, I'm 15s and AKs. Man, there ain't a greater place, I love the United States.
Cool. We just got the little darkies part and we didn't get to see it, so. God, do I look like a gremlin right there, but doesn't matter, it's a porn, bruh. It's a porn, bruh. Preparing everything. Live stream. You want to link the Twitter. No, not Dumbblonde. I said Dumbnonblonde. DUMBNONBLONDE. No, I said Dumbnonblonde. Why you gotta be a bitch like that? Why you gotta be a bitch like that? Cool. Let's go here and bink, bink. Okay. Someone is streaming right now, and her name might rhyme with Dell Computers. Or Socks. What's up, everyone? It's Box. So, let's go ahead and get this over with and talk about the trans debate featuring Destiny and Mr. Girl, who Mr. Girl is so fucking controversial. I don't know if you've ever heard of his music career, but oh my god, is that a fucking crazy one. Like, I warn you, never look up Mr. Girl's musics. But if you know what I'm talking about, then holy shit, we're in for a ride. This guy is nuts. Alright, let's do it. Bink. Bink. Not sure what to do with Destiny's videos, but alright. We are now live. I'm trying to make sure I post it on Twitter too. Yep, Twitter's posted. And yeah, I'm not really into Reddit right now, which is like basically the only problem. But besides that, like, there's nowhere else. I mean, maybe Mastodon. I don't know. But either way, let's listen to what Destiny and Mr. Girl have to say about trans people, and how much you want to bet these in the very beginning are going to be clips that are taken out of context, that either Mr. Girl is making a really weird summarization or Destiny is, and it turned into something weird. Either way. It's 2 hours, so don't know if we're going to get through the whole thing, but we're going to try. And if we have any time afterwards, we're going to go to Bad and Panada and Vosh. Of which I think Bad and Panada makes a lot of salient criticism of Vosh. So, yeah, we got a big day today. Let's go.
Yeah?
I talked my girlfriend out of taking testosterone when we first met.
Okay. If you were to wake up tomorrow as a woman with boobs and a vagina and you had a woman's body or whatever, would you be like okay with that, or?
I'd be okay with it, but I'm a freak.
Wait, okay, why are you not okay with your girlfriend having testosterone in her body and not being a trans man or being fucking queer, but you're okay with yourself suddenly changing? Why are you not okay with why did you talk her out of it? That sounds toxic, mister. That sounds toxic. You sound like a toxic motherfucker. I'm sad she's in a relationship with you, or they're in a relationship with you. That sucks.
If I had to be gay, I could be gay.
Okay.
I would go down on Keanu Reeves. I didn't know that about myself. But the more I've thought about it, and the more it's like, I get it now. Okay. So I've definitely become gayer. We're gonna get this thing figured out?
That's not that bad.
Wait, what are we figuring out?
That bad out of context?
The gender, the trans thing.
The trans thing.
I guess that's what we're talking about, right?
That's what we're here to do.
Sure.
Then start it up, Mr.
Or
do
you want to get to know each other first before we dive in?
Fuck
How does this normally
Fuck
happen?
you, Mr. Girl.
Well,
You're a pedophile.
We can do whatever
Fuck
you want.
you.
Who are, introduce yourself so people know who they are, or who you are, where to find you.
I'm the guy who made the song called
I'm
I'm
Mr.
a
Girl. Mr. Girl on YouTube.com / Mr. Girl.
Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Don't look it up.
I have
Don't
some
look.
rap videos.
La 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 la
my
la la la
infamous
la. Okay.
I guess the point of my channel is to get people to understand each other across party lines, and
You don't need to know that. You don't need to know
empathize with each other more and hate each other less. That's the goal.
Cool. Okay. Those are some noble goals. I kind of do that,
Yep.
but I'm also pretty inflammatory when I do it, so we'll see.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Well, yeah. What do you want to chat about today, or what did you see of mine that you were like, oh, I need to
I'm
talk to
gonna
this
use
guy
my
and set him
phone
straight
for
on this thing?
chat.
Okay, so I watched your debating a stubborn conservative about
Yep.
gender.
Okay.
Video.
Yeah. What about it? But
And it feels like you're obviously very smart. So and you're able to kind of fend off all of the different camps. Like there's the cancel culture. You have to agree with us or we're gonna kill you group.
Yep.
That you're pretty good at pushing them away. And then there's the conservative. This is a mental disorder. This is all nonsense group. And then I think TERFs. And it just listening to you talk about it, it seems like you're kind of like in the middle and
okay.
kind of pushing everybody away.
Destiny's a centrist. I agree.
Defending yourself like zombies.
Okay.
Destiny's a zombie.
I don't like the term in the middle there. I think I have like a pretty firm position staked out on one point in when it comes to trans people, but
Yet you're surrounded. You're surrounded all the same.
True. Yeah.
So
What do you say about trans people?
Term in the middle there. I think I have like a pretty firm position staked out on one point in when it comes to trans people, but
Okay, firm position. His firm positions have to do with disregarding xenogender. I don't know if anyone else has saw that clip, but basically there's a clip where he says that xenogender isn't a thing. Xenogender is just bullshit, and if anyone uses in his chat, they're basically banned, or it's like banned itself to use xenogender in chat or any kind of xenogender. So that's his hyper trans take, but his basic trans take is trans women are women so long as they blank. But I've heard him say shit like a man who wants to be a woman. And I could have sworn it was on this debate where it was a clip where he says a man who wants to be a woman. I don't know if that's or a man who identifies as a woman. And I don't know if that's Mr. Girl kind of in this debate um being inflammatory and using that language and the Destiny adopting it in order to communicate with Mr. Girl, or if that's Destiny's fault on his own. I'm not sure. Um but either way, okay. Now I'm going to get into my live chat and hello. Now we can talk here. So I should probably plug this in, seeing as this is going to be a long one. I think we're going to get through this debate, to be honest. I don't know if we're going to get to the Bad Empanada stuff, but I want to. More or less, I agree with Bad Empanada. Bad Empanada is like, he's talking about, how Vosh kind of, he stands up for the, treatment. Wow, and now I need a extender for my USB plugs. Good to know. But, because now I do not have a mouse, but it's fine. I'll use the touchpad, mouse pad, whatever. Doesn't really matter to me, but basically Bad Empanada was saying how Vosh was like kind of justifying the US in their terrorism and in their tyranny of like being colonizers, and the fact that they like step into these battles that are happening in other places across the world, and whether that's actually good or not. Bad Empanada argues that it's not good. I pretty much agree with Bad Empanada there. But let's go into this trans debate. We got the chat up. We notified everything, so I'm scared, but let's go.
And yet you're surrounded. You're surrounded all the same.
True. Yeah.
So
I don't like the term in the middle there. I think I have like a pretty firm position staked out on one point in when it comes to trans people, but
yet you're surrounded. You're surrounded all the same.
True.
Surrounded.
Yeah.
So right. So yeah. Your position is, as I understand it, that the APA is saying that it's not a mental disorder now, and you are adopting their stance because we need to have a central
understanding
definition agency of some kind.
Sure. It's not a mental disorder. No, it's not.
Sure.
You could be trans. Okay, let me point this out. You could be trans and never medically transition. Like, that means not get any surgery, not use any hormones, and you can be trans and not socially transition. That means not changing your clothes, not putting on makeup, not like I never put on makeup, but that's just me. But pretty much I'm pretty feminine when I get to choose the clothes that I want to wear. Like the clothes that I'm in now, they're more like Twitch clothes, I guess. Like it's like I'm not trying to draw attention to myself, but at the same time they're like also like comfy clothes because it's fucking Christmas Eve. So either way, and you can also be trans and never change your pronouns. Now that wows everyone. Like, how can you be trans and never change your pronouns? You can still be a she, her who is queer, who identifies under the trans umbrella. Now, for me personally, when I say trans, I mostly mean trans men, trans women, non-binary people, or xenogender people. But there are times like where queer people who aren't really non-binary, who aren't really gender fluid, who aren't really they don't really shift in and out of gender, any kind of a special gender expression that has to go with transitioning in any kind of way. So I'm willing to bet both of these men disagree on that. I'm pretty sure they don't really understand the trans community like a trans person does, but as far as that goes, yes, you don't need dysphoria. You could absolutely be trans and not feel, uncomfortable with your body or your gender, body dysmorphia or gender dysphoria with your gender. It's not required, but it is in a mass. There was a word for it, but basically, yeah, in mass, it's like that's generally the truth that trans people suffer from dysphoria, and they're either trans male, trans female. Now that's not all the case, but you don't need a mental disorder in order to be trans. Legally, you need to be seen by a therapist in order to change your name and gender, like I did, which was fucking annoying and ridiculous because this person could decide. I think I've brought this up on a different stream, but this person could decide, I don't want to label you as trans because you're not trans enough for me. And that's stupid and fucked up. If you say you are trans and you live by that, then I think you're trans, you know? And you shouldn't need to have to go to a therapist to decide and agree that you are trans, because that is just a fucked up way of putting your hands into the people of you know, who could make decisions which could you know, severely affect your life choices. You know, the choice to commit suicide or not could possibly be one of those choices. So it's a very real and dangerous law that is currently enacted right now. But yeah, I think that um most of those people who do the evaluations are actually genuine and do want to help you and do want to allow you to transition. Now, while that is the truth in my case, well, it was the truth in my case, it might not be the truth in everyone's case. And just to avoid that possibility of leaving someone in the lurch where they can't change anything about their gender and they do want to transition in some kind of social or physical way, that's just, it's a dangerous law to have. So I disagree with that. But, you know, I'm pretty sure Mr. Girl is going to be arguing that it is a mental disease, which it isn't. You know, it's not a disease to be trans. There are fucking trans athletes, like we talked about in the last stream, and there are also, you know, trans like superstars, trans movie stars, all sorts of trans stars in all parts of the world, and you know, they don't require the mental disorder, because a lot of them are actually really sane, and they don't have any you know, things holding them back from allowing themselves to enjoy themselves, their gender or their body. So, you know, it's not a necessity, but I'm willing to bet Mr. Girl is gonna say different.
That we use diagnoses as, I guess, for their utility. And so there's no
Yep.
utility in calling it a mental illness. We use
Yeah, no.
definitions of words for their utility. So there is utility in calling trans women women.
Yes, there is.
I don't know if I defend that one, but it depends on the conversation I've had, I guess. But yeah, I feel like that's a big muddying of the waters. I don't like it when people.
You don't like the semantics.
Well, because it's
What?
trans women or women, it seems like we're erasing a lot of the problems that trans people have, and it's just kind of a nonsense statement. Because, well, if we have the term trans women and they're women, it's basically trying to say, like, it's trying to get rid of like all of the gender disparity between trans women, and just to bring them all, have them all be treated the same. But for some reasons that can't be true, and then it also is just like a
What do
very
you
like
mean?
muddying the water statement.
What do you
It
mean
makes it
that
so you
can't
can
be
no
true,
longer
Destiny?
talk about
I am a
transitions.
woman.
Kind
Fuck
of,
you.
yeah.
If
What?
it's literally the truth, then there's no way to talk about trans women because they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, kind of. And it just, everybody obviously, well, if trans women are women, then why do trans women have any problems? They're just women, right? But obviously there's more to it than that.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Holy shit, Destiny! Trans women are women, okay? That's just the first point I want to nail down right here. Trans women are women. I am a woman, alright, motherfucker? I am a woman with challenges that face me in society due to other people like you who want to say, you're not just a woman, because if you were just a woman, you'd be chilling. Nope. Plenty of women have fucking problems. Plenty of women have fucking depression. Plenty of women have body dysmorphia, let alone gender dysphoria. Like, it doesn't, you don't have to be a trans woman to suffer from these, you know, diagnoses. You don't. You do not. You could be a non-binary woman. You could be a gender fluid woman. You could be a xenogender person. You could be like all sorts of people in general who aren't women, but women in general. When we're using this label as women are women. If you identify as a woman, you are a woman. You might have challenges that you face in society, but that is not, you know, that does not negate your gender, girls. You're still a woman. All you trans girls out there, you're women, okay? Fuck Destiny. Oh my god, this is gonna be a grueling one.
I just think it's a really reductive, silly statement. But
Reductive and silly. It's reductive and silly to give trans women the equality that they deserve as women. What? What?
I don't know how important that is to this conversation.
And
Yeah, it blew
and I
my
remember
mind
him
too, Mr.
saying
Girl. It
that
blew my mind too. What the fuck?
if you were in the '60s when the DSM was saying that being gay was a mental illness, then you would have agreed. Then
If I was in the
First time
60s. Hey, whoa, guys, whoa. If you're on YouTube right now, we're trying desperately, okay? August is getting fired if I don't hit 400,000 subs by the
Okay,
first.
kill yourself,
Editor,
Justin.
1,000
Kill
subs.
yourself.
Can you handle?
I
Kill
accept
yourself.
their definition based on the way you're saying, like the APA.
Can you guys do it? Can you handle it?
Suck my little
Based
cock,
on the
Destiny.
way you're saying, like the APA decides, and I accept their definition.
So there's two parts to this. So one, if I'm being intellectually honest, like it's kind of like asking me, like, well, in the 1700s, would you have been racist? I mean, like, honestly, probably, right? It would be nice. It's like, well, no, I think I stand as a beacon of like objective morality. I don't believe in any kind of
because you're a
relativism. I
fucking
think that I would be
coward,
able to
aren't
make
you,
these moral
Destiny?
statements
You
regardless of
weren't
time and place.
you weren't in our fucking cultures where we worship trans women as gods and we worshipped gay people as the highest in society, because you would have been in those typical Anglo fucking societies where you would have been a bitch and just followed along and got raped by society, wouldn't you? Oh, you fucking cunt.
But
Oh,
probably I'm going to be a slave to the times at some
Probably.
point.
Okay, but if you knew what you knew now in the '60s, you'd say being gay is wrong.
No, I don't think so. So,
Or you'd say being gay is not wrong. You'd say
sure.
you're wrong.
I understand what you're saying. So, I think that the APA statement on whether or not being a trans person is an illness in and of itself, I think is consistent with how we define what an illness is in terms of like a mental illness, and then how we deal with a mental illness.
Like, my transness doesn't make me ill. It doesn't make me worse to be trans. It makes me better. It makes me want to live. I wanted to live less. I remember laying in my apartment. This is very important, everyone. I remember laying in my apartment pre-transition, pre-identity. Like, I had no identity on my own. I legit knew nothing about myself. And I was just thinking, I want to get a rope and hang myself. Like, that's what I want to do right now. Because I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like this is life. I don't feel like there's a purpose to this, because I can't be myself, and being myself is risky, and I don't know what being myself even looks like. And it took me growing my hair out and wearing skirts inside and wearing my sister's clothes, but when behind closed doors, and experimenting with myself sexually, even as, like, a young kid, to realize that I was different than everyone else, but I didn't know where to place myself. I needed that ability to be able to gender myself in a way I felt comfortable in order for me to want to pursue life. So, like, no, like, yeah, it's not an illness. It's definitely not an illness. It's a realization. It's coming out of the closet, and it heals. It heals a ton. In a big way, it heals. Personally, but socially, like, I'm gonna bring this up a lot, but socially, there's a lot of backlash from the other people who dislike trans people, who make it hell for us to live. Just like, black people have to deal with white people who constantly make it hell for them to live. Our problem is a whole bunch of cis people, which is arguably a bigger amount of society, and it's even happened from black people from time to time. However, I will say that black people have been more accepting of me than other white people have, though I have met white people who have accepted me. The majority are white cis women who have the biggest problem with trans women, because they don't want another gender, or it's not even another gender, it's just female, but they don't want another subset of gender to be applied to women, because they feel like they are the sole owners of the gender female, which is incorrect, because female is, like, really broad. But the basic female, like, I fit all of those characteristics. I have boobs, I have soft skin, I have estrogen in my body, no testosterone. I have high pitched voice. I present feminine. And that's just me, okay? Just all the characteristics that represent female. I very clearly, living that. Now, not every female has to, because there are a lot of females who are like, fuck skirts. I want to wear jeans. Like, fuck fucking high heels. I want to wear boots. Fuck fucking you know uh, uh crop tops, I want to wear hoodies, and they don't follow the social norms, and on it goes. Women can deviate from that, but it's not a personal issue with being a trans woman that gender comes into play as an issue for trans people. It is a social issue. That's a really big and important point I'm making right here. It's a social issue, and we need to start changing as a society to accept minorities rather than exploit, abuse, and refuse to recognize them even as a part of it. Because when I go outside, bar none, there will be someone to tell me I'm not a trans woman, I'm just a gay man, and I'm very feminine. That's about it. And there's no escaping that, and that's society at large. But that isn't in my own room. In my own room, obviously, like there's no contesting. I'm a woman. Outside, there's still no contesting that I'm a woman, but there are people who have the opinion that they feel uncomfortable with my gender expression, and that they feel uncomfortable with my biology. I have boobs. Now what are you gonna do? Now what are you gonna do? And they just flail. It's not enough. It's not enough. Even if you had a vagina, it's not enough. It's not enough. Even if you had a fucking, which is in 2040, which is possible. You have ovaries and you have a womb. It's not enough. It's not enough. It doesn't matter what you do, how you identify, or how you transition. There will always be that pushback in society that will never accept or fully accept trans women as actual females. But even if you do fit those characteristics, long hair, like there's plenty about me that's very feminine. I have a feminine face. Everything about me is feminine. So yeah, it still doesn't matter because the social pushback. It is not the gender itself that is an issue.
So to expand on that, if you are simply a trans person,
yes,
you don't necessarily have any negative aspects of that influencing your life. So like I think the big ones are usually like, are you able to maintain relationships? Are you able to work a job? Do you take care of yourself? Can you maintain a schedule? Like things like this to see if like, is this like an illness? Is this affecting you?
I can do all these things.
Now, going by those criteria, I don't know why homosexuality or gayness was ever considered a mental illness. I'd have to go back and look at why the AMA or the APA, I guess, did it. But yeah, that's all right.
It's because it was butt sex, nigga. Oh, shit, I just said that. Oh, god damn it. See, I can't use GA here. And I'm not used to that. I'm very not used to that. So, excuse me. But yeah, it's because it's butt sex. That's why. Because they consider that an obscenity and a horror. But, yeah, so... Man, I ruined the VOD already. But it's fine. It's fine. It's going on YouTube and everyone's going to be just fine. But yeah. Jesus. I have a feeling at some point there's gonna be a debate down the line where someone's gonna be like, "You can't use the GA," and I'm gonna be like, "Oh man, like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm gonna pull Destiny and be like, oh, if you're with your friends." But yeah, no, it's like I am in the black community. I've been in the black community multiple times in my life, just living there and living in those situations because I prefer to live in those situations because, like I said, black people have been more accepting of me than white people have been. And, it's a colloquialism that I generally use more or less for other white people. I mean, Destiny's white, but like at the same time, it's just such a common word that's like used throughout rap, throughout music, throughout social media, throughout, and I'm listening to rap constantly. But I have a lot of influence. I've had a lot of influence with that word being used around me and to me and about me. So, a lot of people will come to me and say, "You're a whole ass GA." And I'll be like, fine, that's your opinion, okay. Still want to fuck me? But, pretty much. But, yeah, so I have a lot of experience with using that and not that being problematic, but I'll try to control myself. I'm sorry, everyone. Either way.
I guess I think that
it's butt sex. That's why.
We define mental illnesses when you're acting in a way the rest of us don't like. And if you're acting in a way, so it's say like narcissistic personality disorder. So you could be likable, you could be a bit of an asshole, you could be a supreme asshole, and then you can be, you know what, the people in your life are so horrified by you that I don't know any of them. I'm just your, clinician. I'm going to diagnose you with a personality disorder. I'm saying that I can't stand you. They can't stand you. Society dislikes you so much that we're going to slap the disorder label on you. And so I think it makes more sense if you go back to when gay people, the idea of your child being gay is like a
Man, I'd like some
life ruining
viewers.
nightmare and you're ostracized from your community, then it makes more sense to use the mental illness label then. It's this kind of like tension between how do you want to act and how do other people want you to act. Just like it like exhibition.
Mr. Girl's not wrong, but at the same time, the way he's using this is to justify. Um, I'm pretty sure it's to justify the P word because he is a P word. And while I would justify other, people, like I justify narcissists, like plenty of people are narcissistic. My dad's a motherfucking narcissist, and there's no way you can get around it. It's all about him all the time. Every word he says you lean on, and if you don't, he will remind you to lean on it. That's my dad, okay? He's a narcissist, but I love him, and that's not a reason to call him disordered, or it's his personality type. It's not like a gender or anything like that's more salient to this discussion. But at the same time, he doesn't harm other people. Okay, he doesn't harm other people by promoting bad beliefs or by taking bad actions, which can like literally violently harm someone. I think you're violently harming a minor if you suddenly touch them like in any kind of romantic or sexual way. That is violating them, that is being violent to them, and those P words and people like Mr. Girl are acting in ways like, even if they do it online, they only ever use fucking what do you call it, like lolly or like stuff like that. You know, I still think they're being violent. I still think that is a violent act, and it is a hate crime towards minors, which is like awful and evil. So I don't think you're gonna get away with this one, Mister Girl. You can't qualify yourself with the rest of the world who doesn't actually harm people. Sorry, bro. You have what is it called? What do we call it? Uh, an a paraphilia. You're paraphilic, bro. That is very different than having a disorder. A disorder is one thing. A paraphilia is another. Don't harm animals. Don't harm children. Don't do that shit. Please don't do that shit. Some paraphilias are kind of weird. There's like one about obscene phone calls, which I think are fine. If you want to hang up, you can hang up at any point, and both people are consenting at that point. Unless you like tie someone down and force them to have to call you, then that's being violent against them. But if you're not actually like forcing them to do it, and both of you are having like these really gross like phone calls, no matter what the paraphilia is about the paraphilia on the phone, it's not necessarily damaging as long as you're not including the other paraphilias that are violent. If you're talking about poop on the phone, and that's your thing, I don't really care. That's fine. Talk about it all you want, I don't really care. If you're not harming children, if you're not harming other people, go for it. And scat things like all that kind of stuff, go for it. You might get a disease, but do it at your own risk. But yeah, very different paraphilias. There's some that are violent, and there's some that are non-violent. And if you have a non-violent paraphilia, I think there's a place for you in society. But if you have a violent paraphilia, I think you need some help before you can go back to society. And it is my belief that Mr. Girl should be in therapy right now. Right now, Mr. Girl should be in therapy. And I think he should take all of his raps down, every last one, change his rapper name and start making legitimate raps that aren't fucking insane. Vosh just recently had a debate with Mr. Girl, and it was disgusting. This man is sick, and he belongs in fucking the in therapy, and not allowed. Like, he belongs in house therapy, like inpatient therapy right now. Mr. Girl is a dangerous man.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk around naked now in public, you've got
Yes.
a disorder.
If you walk around naked now in public, there's a chance you made a mistake. There's a chance you're kind of a freaky, kinky person. There's plenty of people in San Francisco I've seen walking around naked, and it's not like, it never affected me. It was never bad for me. They never had a disorder for it. they're perfectly normal people who walked around naked and they were just allowed to in that society. So I don't think that's equivocal at all.
But if you walk around in like a bikini top now here, you don't. But if you met a girl who isn't like some predominantly Muslim country where you're going to get killed for walking around in a bikini top and she's still doing it,
Yeah, that's
then I think
a
it's fair to slap her with
violent
the disorder
society
label.
you're talking about, bruh.
Um,
Same goes for violent societies. Same goes for violent societies. When violent societies are enacted, that is also like a crime against humanity. There should be no violence enacted on you based on your decisions, even if they're strange or out, wild. It doesn't matter what decisions you make, so long as you aren't violently harming other people. Like, you're not violently harming other people by flashing your tits. Like, but you could get harmed in those societies, which is why those societies are fucking. They're not based, not at all.
I think that this is. I think I can agree with this as like a second order removed from what we're talking about. So
I'm going to connect it.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Connect
So
it.
I'll
Why does
like,
he sound like someone I know?
I don't fully agree, but I'll tentatively agree, and I'll see where we're going with it. Go for it.
He sounds like Ethan
It's not
Klein.
a trap.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's a trap, but if I say
And
I
he
agree
looks
now
like
and then
Ethan
you say
Klein.
something later that builds on this,
I'm not going to do
I'm
that.
so sorry,
no,
Ethan.
yeah, I'm not-
I take that back. I take that
Okay,
back.
that's a good debate. I'm just saying, like, I'll agree because I'll see where we're going, but like, I don't want to come back and disagree with this because it's like I don't like something you say later. My main issue is, I guess, when you paraphrase it as like, or when you summarize it as like, we say things are disorders if you act in ways that people don't like. I don't think that's necessarily true. For instance, if you're an asshole, if you're just like a jerk to people, we don't necessarily call that a disorder.
I think if you're an asshole to a certain extent, we do.
I don't know if that's the case.
Okay, how is Trump walking around without a disorder, bro? I just wanted the
Some people like really mean. They're just really mean people.
Well, if I come into your office and I say, I say I'm divorced, and I started going to therapy right after I got divorced. So if I come in and I say, I got divorced because my wife is a bitch, and then you say, okay, yeah, maybe she is, maybe you're mad, whatever, and then I say, I don't.
Oh God, I hate this. This is another version of the debate funneling we talked about before, and Destiny's Webs that we've talked about before. This is a simple one. This isn't one to get the other people to actually make a decision, but it's to get the other people to think a different way. To like say, let's say I like this pickle, and this pickle was really nice, and then I named this pickle Adolf Hitler. Like you could extrapolate it to whatever point that you want to in order to make a point that uh, it doesn't actually stand to reason. This time in this like place, I think he's got like room to maneuver to make an argument which we naturally agree upon. But this is a debate tactic to make people like see things your way. It's just pre-warning. I know Destiny's gonna catch this because Destiny's fucking hella experienced in debate, but at the same time, that is the tactic that he's using right now. He's about to extrapolate to Adolf Hitler right now.
I lost my job because my boss is an asshole. And then I say, I got kicked out of my apartment building because my neighbor is an asshole. I think eventually the gears start turning and you're like, okay, I think there's something wrong with you.
So I put them up for adoption.
Definitionally, if you can't maintain a job, you can't maintain your home, you can't maintain family connections.
Yep.
Well, at a certain point, you're going to say, well, listen, you've got a disorder. You need treatment. Yep. You need to change. And
yeah, I disagree with that. There are some people who just can't make ends meet with the resources that they're given. I'm pausing a lot, I know, everyone, but it's 2-hour debate, and it might take a while, but, fuck it. This might be the entire show. It is a trans debate, so... But, yeah, I think there is room to decide whether or not this person's actually in the wrong or not, because there could be a circumstance in which this person is required to take care of other individuals, in which this person is required to take care of themselves in a specific special way. They have special needs that don't have to do with like disorders, or that their society that they live in at large has special requirements in order to participate in that society that it makes it impossible for you to actually pay rent or actually keep a relationship or actually do these things, to where at the point you could argue that that person calling all these circumstances, like these other people assholes, it might actually be accurate. Like, okay, so for example, say there's a black man who's in a redlined, place, who's like poor in poverty, and his job is to do illegal activity because that's the only job that he could get that would pay enough in order for him to maintain his lifestyle. His girlfriend leaves him over this. He calls her an asshole about that because he didn't really have a choice. You can, and then the landlord finds out or something, and kicks him out for that reason, even though he's another human being and he deserves life too, and he's just trying to get by. There's a lot of room in order to identify this person as not really a narcissist, or not really, but he's saying, like, to a degree, like, to a point, like, and then, like, this person sends their kid to fucking adoption because they can't take care of the kid, because they literally can't, and their baby mama doesn't want to take care of the kid, and what do? Like, there's a lot of room to say this person's actually probably accurate, in their definition, even if they're not necessarily, like, that person isn't necessarily like an entire asshole, but being an asshole at that point, I think it could still be argued. So I think this is a slippery slope.
Partly it's that you're saying these other people shouldn't have to change, or they don't want to change, or I don't think there's particularly anything wrong with them. And partly it's you saying they're not gonna change. So even if you're right, lots of people are assholes, but you still, to be like a successful and moderately I don't know, happy person, like functional person, you have to kind of learn to get along with them.
Yeah, I think this is getting closer to something that I generally would agree with.
Anyone, my man.
Okay.
Not even Melania.
So, I think.
Or his own children.
Wait, can I give one caveat and then we'll move on from there?
Yeah.
So the one caveat I would say is that, earlier you said something that I said that is true, that I think a diagnosis only should exist to yield a utility to it. So diagnosing somebody as something that we can't change or we can't help or whatever doesn't seem to be very valuable. So if there is a society, for instance, let's say theoretically, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but let's say that your sexuality is like an immutable, unchangeable characteristic. Once you're like, we'll say 10 years old. Like if you're gay, you're gay. If you're straight, you're straight. And then boom. If there is like a society that is massively homophobic, but if like being gay is something that there is no treatment for, it seems pointless to change, to diagnose that as an illness. And rather it seems like the society should probably move in a certain direction to be more accommodating to that person. But if there is something that is, I'll say either one, is harmful to other people, or two, if it is something that can change, then we can diagnose that problem and say, well, we should try to change this because it's either something that could be changed and it's causing you a lot of friction in your life, or it's harmful to other people. And even if it is immutable, we still need to do something to contain it or treat it. So maybe it can't depend or something. Okay, go ahead.
I see what you're saying, but I think that most...
One of the two standards.
Okay, I'll say there's not most. There's a lot of mental illnesses that are not treatable.
Nope.
I'm going to try to be really clear with our language here. When you say mental illness, are you referring specifically like personality disorders or
schizophrenia?
Okay. So, fuck, I have to look this up. So just so I'm using personality language.
I have a lot
because some things are
about
considered like,
schizophrenia,
I don't know if personality disorders are treatable. I think they're manageable, but I don't know if you can change somebody's personality. Schizophrenia is treatable with medication, but sure, but go ahead.
You can manage a personality, but
my point is that even
if
it's not treatable, or if it is treatable or whatever, I don't quite agree with you that is the like hinging like factor that determines whether we label something an illness. Even if whether it's treatable or not, I still think there's utility in labeling someone as this person's going to act this way, and we need to understand that. So like pedophilia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, I knew it. I told you. I warned you. Run. Get out of this room. Get out of this chat. Leave the fucking stream. Leave the fucking... click off the YouTube video, okay? Because it's about to get creepy. Because fucking Mr. Girl is a P word. He is a fucking P word.
Someone's a pedophile. I imagine there are people who have been cured. And I imagine there are people who won't and can't.
Can't be.
Mm-hmm.
Can't.
And I think either way, it's worth, at least in the therapist's office, saying, "Hey, I've listened to you. I've gotten to know you for a while, and I think you're a pedophile. And that here's what this means. Here's my advice to you going forward, and here's how I think you should manage this. And here's how I think we as a society should manage this. I think there is still a utility in labeling somebody, even if it's not treatable."
Okay, we'll get to that, I guess, in the conversation. Go for it.
No. Mr. Girl made a good point. Like, even though he's a gross motherfucker and I don't like him, there's a lot of like, disorders that can't be treated, that need therapy, that need like this person, I'd suggest that they go to in like inpatient again and stay inpatient like Mr. Girl should until they're, safe and they have these thoughts like, expunged from their brain, or that they stay inpatient for the rest of their lives, or that they distance themselves from society or children in general and don't pursue that sickness. Because if you pursue that sickness, in my opinion, if you legit pursue that sickness and there's no point at which you stop or no point at which you change, at some point someone is, liable to at try to convince you, or maybe even like try to force you into inpatient therapy. Well, I think that is a violent action to force anyone to do anything. This, this person's type of violence in pursuing this sickness is more violent, I think, and sometimes it's really tough. But what it would like for Mr. Girl to have happen is a therapist to be like living in his house, or like a therapist to come by his house sometimes, maybe check his computer, maybe put a camera on his computer, maybe make sure the raps and the music that he makes aren't fucking disgusting. Maybe make sure that he isn't encouraging and influencing other people to be P words like himself. Any way to make him less of a violent actor would be nice. But yeah. He'll argue that he's not a P word, but he has a song called I Am a P word, and he has a song called I Kill P words, and he has a song called I Like Minors or something like that. Like, so this guy is very, very sick, and I'm not comfortable with him being in my society with children at large, that he can access, even in like a visual sense, even if he's like going to a playground and staring at it at a distance and then goes home and does something obscene. I still think that's, violently acting towards those children, because those children weren't safe. Even though they felt safe, they weren't safe because there was a predator nearby. And I don't think we should have predators in society. I'm sorry. Like, these kind of predators, like, there are different kinds of predators, which are like, okay, you can argue that a military man, or a what do you call it, soldier, is a predatory person. He wants to murder, and he gets that out by like, murdering terrorists or whatever. You could argue that there's like a place for him in society, but even then, I want to argue that the majority of America's wars have been unjustified, and the majority of the people who are fighting against America are in destitute situations in which they have to fight to survive. But we still do like label those people as like heroes, and stuff like that. But these kind of predators, these are more dangerous. This is more dangerous than someone who wants to kill someone and goes to war, I feel. Because these people can kind of be invisible. Because this guy's claiming he's not a P word when he makes a song called I Am a P word, and he's just kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, acting like he's all of us when he's really not. This guy is a disgusting motherfucker. And yeah, there's a lot I want to say, but I want to hear more about this debate. So yeah, that's pretty much my argument.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily disagree, but I guess we'll see.
Agree with what?
To that, I guess, in the conversation.
Labeling somebody, even if it's not treatable.
Okay, we'll get to that, I guess, in the conversation. Go for it. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily disagree, but I guess we'll see where this comes out. Yeah.
Okay. And pedophilia is another good example of you're behaving in a way that the rest of us just really don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's got more to do with not liking, Mr. Girl. It's got more to do with not liking P words. It's got a lot more to do with P words being dangerous. Because if P words are walking around the world and they get into any location with minors, whether they're touching them or looking at them or not, they put the society in danger, Mr. Girl. That's what they do. That's what they if they're enacting as well, even if they're inactive, they're still dangerous people who, it's not just something we don't like, okay? It's something that damages our youth, okay? It's way more serious than he's making it out to be. And I just think it's disgusting, okay? He's a disgusting man.
it doesn't work like societally, and so we need to slap a label on it. Whereas it, in the past, when the age of consent was like much lower in the early teens, then it's I don't think it was considered a mental disorder. It was probably considered more of a like an asshole thing. Like that guy, like, yeah, you want to keep him away from your niece. You know, he's a weirdo.
Okay. A person's not just an asshole, okay? We learned over the course of our years on Earth that people like this and children at that age, of any age under the age of consent, are not fully their brains your brain doesn't even fully develop till you're 25 or 24 or something, 26 something. And you're trying to say that these children could be could consent to adults who have much more developed brains. At no point in society was that okay. We just learned more. We just understood more that this is a dangerous and bad thing to have in society. It's not just something we don't like or something that he's an asshole. It's like this man is dangerous, and having him in our society is it's a threat, to society at large. It's more than just he's an asshole. Okay, he keeps dumbing it down because he is one of those people. I swear to God, he is.
Hmm.
So if you okay, so if you're gay and you live in one of those places where they kill you if you're gay,
Yep.
I I guess I think that the idea that being gay is this immutable, your sexuality is this unchangeable core piece of your identity is not quite true. I think that that is somewhat of a bulwark against the societal pressure that you're talking about. I think that narrative gets pushed for good reason to tell people like fuck off, like stop with the conversion therapy, stop trying to make us conform. We don't want to. And then in response, the rest of society has kind of said, okay, you know what? It's actually not that big of a deal. I don't hate that you're gay now. I don't hate that you are, you're not going to get married the way I want you to or have kids the way I want you to or whatever. And so then the tension is kind of diffused, and then it doesn't have to be labeled a mental illness. But I think telling people, and I think this is kind of what trans people are trying to do, and trans rights activists is say,
Ugh,
this is
fuck
just
you.
happening. You can't change it. You can't affect it.
Yep.
It's just who they are. Just accept it. Stop. Let it go.
I hate when he's
And
right.
then try
I
to
hate it when he's right.
defuse the tension on society's end.
God, this is stressful.
Okay, I think I largely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, we all agree with that. It
Okay.
doesn't matter because you're about to make a
And
P word
um,
argument.
so what I've come to in thinking about this and talking about it a lot is that I don't want to. I'm. It's not transphobia, but it's like you're asking. Maybe it is, but it's like you're asking
It is
me
transphobia, honey.
to change the way gay people asked people to change. Like, well, just change your idea of what a normal life is. Change your idea of what a family is. Change your ideas about religion and sin and
Yeah, I
whatever
can't.
until they make room for us. And like, I
Yeah.
think probably people were like, well, yeah,
What's wrong
I'm
with
not actually
developing
that
with
attached to those
science and
ideas. I
society?
don't really care as much as I thought I did or as much as my grandparents did. And they're dead, so fuck it. Yeah, being gay is fine. It's not a sin. Whatever. And like when you see Christians get asked about this, they're like, "Yeah, it's fine. I don't care. It's not my place to judge. I don't know." And just to completely abandon like Christianity's kind of earlier core stances of like what you're supposed to do as a Christian. They're just like, wait, it's fine, because they just don't care. But I do about this one. I do care. It bothers me. And on top of that,
Trans people
I
body.
don't
Wow.
think that I don't think it's the same. I think we're capitulating to trans people. I don't think
What?
that I don't think trans people need to be told yes all the time. And I don't think that's good for them, and I don't think it's good for society. And I think my problem kind of overall with liberals lately is that they have a really hard time saying no. And I kind of think of it the same way I think of Black Lives Matter.
Oh my god, and now we're going into Black Lives Matter, which Black Lives do matter, and oh my god, what he just said. Bruh, oh my god, we don't want a yes from any one of you. We are who we are. Accept it or don't accept it. Here's the thing, try to take away my rights, try to take me out of the military, try to take my rights away in any kind of way, shape, or form. I will fucking fight for it till I fucking die, and even if every last trans person is dead on fucking earth, we fought till the end for our rights. That's what this is about. This isn't about yeses. You think I get yeses every time I go outside? Every time I go outside, I get no, bar none. Always, every single time, I get no. You're not a trans woman, you're a gay man. Every single time. Just because there are small parts in society or online that actually do agree that trans people are valid doesn't mean that society actually thinks trans people are valid, because they don't. They just capitulate in order to get by so that they don't actually have to share their honest and true opinions, because their honest and true opinion is we're gay people. That's it. You're either a dyke or you're a fucking fag, and that's about it. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I can say these words, but yeah. You're either a D word or an F word, and that's about how they see it. That's about the only way that they're going to see it, because that's the only way that they've been trained and taught to see things deviate from the norm, which are sexually deviations. Is like, oh, you're not straight, then you're gay, and that's about all that they have in their mind, and they walk by and they're like, oh. They don't. There's another gay person. Oh, okay, this gay person's wearing a skirt. Who cares? That's about it. The problem is when it comes to rights. Like a trans woman is a woman. Fucking Destiny. A trans woman is a woman and uses the female bathroom because she is more vulnerable to men, and it's safer for her to use the bathroom, and it is more safe for other women that trans women are in bathrooms, because if you just saw a bunch of different gendered looking people walking in and out of the men's bathroom, I guarantee you there would be a high escalation in rape. I guarantee you there would be a high escalation in abuse. I guarantee you there would be a high escalation in gender confusion and nonconformity, to the point to where gender would be abolished, and then everyone would go into the women's bathroom and everyone would go into the men's bathroom. There's a reason that trans women identify as females and want to be in the female bathroom, because with their gender and with our society at large, not only are we comfortable, but the rest of us are comfortable with feminine presenting people who identify as female going into the female bathroom. It's not a problem. It's never has been a problem and never will be a problem unless you make it a problem. The problem is when you try to force people into places that they don't belong. Trans women do not belong in the men's bathroom, for one.
Where I went to a Black Lives Matter protest, which felt more like an Antifa protest based just like on the dress and the demographics of the people there, but like no one self-identifies as Antifa, or no one I talked to would. Also, they're with Black Lives Matter, and they're chanting Black Lives Matter, and then they started chanting Trans Lives Matter.
Yeah.
In the middle,
Trans lives do matter.
In the middle of like their chant, we're like marching to a police station, and I kept looking at the black people there, being like, "Are you What do you think of this? What are you thinking when the crowd starts chanting Trans Lives Matter?"
Do you know what they're thinking? Do you honestly want to know, as a person who has a lot of experience with black people? They're thinking, this is another minority who is oppressed, and they deserve a voice too. That's about all that they're thinking. You idiot.
In the middle of this, I'm like, why? I just feel like nobody puts their foot down and says like, hey, your protests are good, but stop rioting. And with trans people, like,
no, there's a reason that we're rioting. Society is in a state of unrest with police violence, with cis on trans violence, with white on black violence. There's a reason that the riots are happening. There's a reason.
Like, yeah, put on a dress and change your name and ask people to talk about you differently. I think that's all fine. Like, live the way you want to live, but once it starts to feel oppressive to other people, I think you have to understand that there has to be a point where other people have to say no. I think conservatives are a bit too harsh. And
is your saltine life all fucking cracked up? Are you fucking scared of the fact that I'm a woman and I have And then I'm willing to march in the Black Lives Matter rally and say trans lives matter. Does it just make you quake? Do you want to know what people actually think? Do you want to know what they actually think? Oh my god.
And unkind in the way they say no, which I definitely picked up on in like the debate I listened to. But I think liberals are way too permissive,
Okay.
possibly including you.
I'm going to try to re-summarize everything you just said, and you tell me if you feel like it's an accurate summation of what you said, okay?
Get him, Destiny. He's
So-
not gonna get him. He's not gonna get him.
You feel like sometimes when it comes to social progress, the left will kind of push on things and basically ask for the other side to capitulate, to give in. And it's like, okay, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. And you think that over time, it's happened on some topics, so like homosexuality, where they don't really care that much, or they didn't care as much as their grandparents, so they're like, okay, fine, this is fine. But you feel like at some point it flies off the rails a little bit too much, and you're getting to a point to where it's like, okay, well, the sky is green, and you need to acknowledge that. And at some point, you're like, okay, well, hold on, it's going too far now, and I feel like we need to ground ourselves a little bit better, or this is something that I'm not willing to concede
Basically, that's
to.
the argument he's
And
making, yep.
you're drawing your line somewhere around this trans issue, essentially.
Okay, now
right?
attack it, Destiny. Go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get
yeah.
it. Get it, Destiny.
Gotcha.
Get it. Make an
Yeah,
argument.
so I guess that splits it up into two things, which is like
Ugh.
one is that I want people to be able to say no.
Okay. I'll make it for you, Destiny. I'll just make it for you, alright? So, there's a big difference between calling a feminine person who's presenting as feminine, who's transitioned, or even if they didn't transition, but a feminine person who's presenting as feminine, who identifies as a female, and calling them female. Because it makes fucking sense, okay? Sky is not green. What's your argument? What's your actual argument, idiot?
Gracefully without getting canceled, and I think you agree with that. Just to be allowed to be like, you know what, I don't want to go along with this. I don't like it, and I don't. I'm not going to participate.
Oh yeah, you'll get canceled. Oh yeah, you'll get canceled. Because you know why? There's trans people online, and there's trans people in your spaces, and there's trans people in your neighborhood, and there's trans people in your city, and there's trans people in your country. And guess what? We're gonna find you, and we're gonna fucking make you feel miserable for making more minorities feel like they don't belong in society and that they can't be who they are. All right? We're gonna get you back. All right?
And then the other is like, are they right? Am I right to want to say no, specifically about trans people? Again, I don't. I also don't want to say that I don't think society has to change. I think that we treat people really badly based on their gender. I think we body shame people. I think we do a lot of things to children that are causing them to have gender dysphoria.
Ooh.
And that we should stop doing.
Ooh, man. I think we're doing a lot of things to children which cause them gender dysphoria. All right, man. So, damn. There was a lot of things my mom did to me to make sure I never would, all right? There was a lot of things my dad did to me to make sure I never would. And it was an immutable fact about myself that I was a woman since the beginning. And I came to her at 5 years old telling her, I'm actually not this name. And I'm actually not this gender. And I'd like to call you this feminine name. I forget which name it was. I think it was Jessica. And my mother made sure the rest of my life, as long as I lived under her house and her roof, I would never, ever have gender dysphoria. Ever. And that is by and large the American society. That is the standard, you know? It's not the standard for an adult, for a parent to be like, you know, oh, I don't think you're feminine enough. You should wear more feminine things. Oh. That is not an American thing to do at all. Like, you're making an argument that doesn't make sense right now, and Destiny's just picking his nose. What the fuck?
Doing that. So I'm not saying
What
that
is
society
this?
doesn't need to change. I just don't think it needs to change in the sense of, okay, trans women are women. We're going to stop you. We're going to say pregnant people instead of pregnant women because we don't want to upset trans people.
It's not just upsetting trans people, okay? It's about being wrong about the facts, okay? Men can have babies, and women can have penises. It's just the facts now, okay? It's been the facts for fucking years upon years. Like I talked about the societies in which there were thousands upon thousands of trans people in different societies where they were worshipped, and like fucking, what is it called? Thailand, like other places in society that aren't necessarily America that we've existed for forever. And we've existed in America since the beginning of America. We started the Black Lives Matter rallies. It was a trans woman who helped ignite Black Lives Matter. Yeah, that's the facts. You could look her up. I forget her name, but yeah, basically, a trans woman was heavily, majorly involved in starting Black Lives Matter. And guess what? She was black and trans. And yeah, like it's not about wanting to be nice to these people. It's about wanting to be honest about the facts. We're around, we're here, and we live our lives as females. It's about you being stupid. Honestly, it's like, this person has long hair, this person has boobs, this person is feminine, this person dates men, this person has a feminine name, this person feels feminine feelings all throughout her entire body, has estrogen in her body, has biological changes that all represent feminine traits, but I'm gonna be obtuse and say no. Like,
to start saying that sex is non-binary and that it's a spectrum, and
it is a spectrum.
those I see as capitulation out of fear.
Those aren't
of the mob,
capitulations. Those are
rather
facts,
than,
bruh. Those are facts, bruh. What you gonna tell the non-binary person? I'm sorry. Those are like, it's a capitulation to recognize that you're actually not. You're actually androgynous, and I don't know what to say now. Like, they legit look non-binary because they're fucking non-binary. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, bruh? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, tell them that, like, oh, I think I'm capitulating when I'm calling you they them, even though you look like not a man or a woman. What do I do? Like, what are you supposed to do? You're like fumbling with but I still have to have my argument in which, like, what the fuck? Like, you don't have to have that argument, bro. You just gotta recognize the facts that these people are around, and even if you want to be an asshole to them, they exist for a fact as they exist. Like, it's just, this is a fucking whack debate, man. What is Destiny doing? Blue Eyes, look over here. Fight him, please. Stand up. Where did you go, Destiny? Where's your brain? What happened to the point when you would interrupt other people and say these awesome fucking mega brain things? Why are you letting a P word fucking talk over you, dude? I never thought you were a cuck until now.
Progress that's actually going to help anybody.
Okay. So I think as we go further into this, I'm probably not going to agree with any of your broader statements here. I think the area of disagreement is probably going to be in the particulars of, like, where do we draw the line? Is probably going to be, yeah. And then we can go over, like, how do we feel like we draw these lines, or where do we figure we draw these lines, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to take it up there, I guess, or?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So, for hypothetical sake, if I follow your argument and if I said that I agree, theoretically at one point, I'm going to broadly say the left and the right. We know what I'm talking about. Yeah. The left is going to say something like brick and plastic are the same thing, and you have to agree with that. And at some point, I'm going to be like, okay, this is too much. I can't do that, right? There's going to be some line that even I would draw there. I would admit that. And actually, I can use a real world example. I don't know if you've ever heard of, like, neo-pronouns or, like, the 50 million other, like, autism, gender, and stuff like that. That's being, like, my line is there. I just don't. I'm not in favor of that.
Okay, so you agree with it? You agree with me that there's a dynamic of the left
man, isn't that
annexing,
moving further and further,
and that it is not dictated by science.
These are two
or
really
logic.
Oh my god! Not dictated by science or logic. Oh my god! Oh my god, bruh. This is a reason that gender should be abolished right now. Like, this minute, this moment in society, all societies everywhere, because you can't put anyone in a box, bruh. I'm sorry, but that dear gender person is fucking dear gender, and you can't change them, and they represent all the fucking aspects of a dear gender person. Scientifically, a scientist would be like, I have no problem with this because I can't diagnose you with anything because I can't take your blood or check your chromosomes or decide for you whether or not you're dear gender or not. A scientist would be like, why are you wasting my time? Like, this person identifies this way. Let them. Like, there's no reason not to. Like, there's no point at which Destiny is forced to marry a dear gender person or forced to be friends with a dear gender person. It's that they exist, and it's the facts, man. I don't know what to say. Like, these two people can't accept that there are facts in reality. You know, it's too crazy, people, man. It's sad.
Dictated by I'm not sure what's pushing it, but
I think it uses science and logic as like a springboard, and then it
Yes,
kind of jumps
for
off
sure.
into other things. Yeah. So
but that's not the
It
not the
doesn't.
engine though.
Science
no,
and
yeah,
logic
I
follows
agree with
all the way
that. So
through.
I think the problem of what's happened is
We got to get to an hour
this
at
isn't
this
even
point.
related to this topic really, but I think the problem that's happened is that as we become more and more polarized as a society, the
Yep.
problem isn't that the left has gotten more left and the right has gotten more right. I think the problem is that there is no more conversation that happens between these two sides. And in my opinion, this is going to sound like an Omega fence sitter take, but I think that the best positions that you can find are usually they usually resolve or result from tension from both sides. That
Yeah.
some natural tension there. Have you ever played a game called Eve?
No.
Okay.
But I know what it is.
I learned this while running a really big corporation in that game, that if I ever want to have somebody that advocates for something, even if I agree with them, I always want somebody advocating on the other end. I always want somebody pushing on the other end, because there might be something that I'm overlooking. Like, this might be a good idea, but maybe there are a couple things we should keep in mind. Or maybe there's like a reason why we should do it a little bit differently. That natural tension is really important. And as soon as that tension disappears, it's like a rubber band that snaps. It's not that it disappears and then this side gets more extreme. It's that it disappears and this side is gone into like, we went from arguing like trans people are real because we can look at scans in the brain and we can see a difference, to now you can identify as wall gender, and that's actually legitimate identification because all self-ID is valid and you can be anything you want to be, and anybody that tells you differently is trans.
Yep.
Like, wait, what the fuck?
Yep.
Right.
I agree that happens.
Okay.
The problems that I have, though, is that as much as I will rally against kind of the
wrong.
left for how insanely off they've gone, I can't really look to the right for good answers, because on that side, they seem to reject the science related to trans people. That there is like this, I wish I could remember it, some base part of the brain or the brainstem, like
This
you can
is
measure
science.
these parts, and in trans women,
There are certain measurements
so
you can make
men
in
who
trans women
identify
and
as
trans
women,
men
they will
in
have
non-binary
like these
people,
parts in
which
their brain that resemble that of cisgender women, where it's like,
It
holy
doesn't have
shit,
to be
there's like, you're
everyone,
actually getting
bruh.
brain structures that are matching. Now, whether that's due to biology and genetics or whether that's due to some early formative experience, it's hard to say. We don't know that.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's hard to say what that means.
For
like
sure.
if you so in my video about this, I looked at similar articles that have been written about the brains of criminals have similar structures. The brains of artists have similar structures. So if you get a bunch of people who are acting similarly, and trans women often do act like women, it's a bit tautological to say they act similarly and their brains are similarly shaped, so therefore they have artist brains, or they have criminal brains, or they have woman brains. That doesn't necessarily mean that.
Well, it could mean that, but we don't necessarily know why they are that way. Maybe
that's the thing. Like,
or maybe
oh my
you're
God.
saying that you could find other brains that fit a similar profile, but they don't have those characteristics.
Yeah.
I guess I'm
like,
saying
okay, I'm willing to bet. I'm just let's just make a bet right now that my brain doesn't match up with a feminine brain. Okay, does that make me not feminine suddenly? Like, it doesn't. It's not shaped the right way. Are you really gonna tell me that my development in my mother's body, in which my brain developed, makes me not trans because of the way that it's shaped? Are you that obtuse? This is a stupid conversation.
I think the framing is the problem is in the framing of where, like, when they looked at the brains of criminals, they didn't say we're trying to identify who has a crime brain. And so these criminals have similar structures. Those are crime brains. So now anyone who has a brain with that structure also has a crime brain.
Not true.
That framing would be weird, but we accept it more when we're saying, oh, we're looking for female brains, because we just accept that there is a thing that is like a female brain beyond a brain literally that is, has XX chromosomes.
There are supposed
We
female
accept
brains.
in
There's
the
like,
formulation
oh my God,
of
oh
the
my God.
question that there is such a thing. But if you
Like a
switch it to a different
tomboy
topic, it becomes
has a masculine
more
brain?
obvious that
What if a
the
tomboy
labeling
doesn't
in
have a
itself is
masculine
where,
looking
like,
brain?
the
The
leap
fuck?
is being made.
I mean,
in
possibly,
your
but I mean,
skull,
we can
then
agree
it's
that
true.
like you would agree that there are female
What?
bodies, I imagine, right, and male bodies.
Oh yeah.
So there can
Oh, yeah.
probably
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not a huge jump to say that there are probably female brains and male brains. right?
Well, I would say that the brain is part of the body.
Of course.
I don't differentiate between the brain and the body. This is another
Sure.
problem.
Well,
I
I'm
have
just
with
what
it.
I'm saying is that like
Let's go, bro.
externally
Talk
there are
about that
clearly male
biology.
bodies and female bodies. So internally
The
there are probably
biology.
also clearly male bodies and female bodies. Whether we're talking about yeah.
I think this is a bunch of horse shit.
Wait, which part?
You know, all of it. You know why? Because
God, he
if
reminds me of
you
Ethan,
saw
and I
a
hate it.
trans person,
Uh-huh.
a trans woman, and they're like, I'm a woman, but
Yeah.
in a male body, and their brain
No,
was
no, 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 no. I'm a woman in a woman's body, alright? I don't like my body. Like, it's not my favorite thing on earth. I got the world's broadest shoulders. I got a back of the gods. But, that doesn't make me any less woman. Plenty of women have fucking god backs, alright? It's not... I've met women who have broader shoulders than me. Like, is she in a man's body? No. Am I in a man's body? No. That's what... Like, see, these liberals, and this is why I say this all the time. No, I literally, if you knew me in person, you'd know I say this all the time. I'd say allies are okay, but sometimes allies are detriments to actual, trans people or anyone coming out, because they have these ideas, they have these thoughts that, you can't be, fucking, shit. I lost my place here. Let's see. I'll know.
a trans woman, and they're like, I'm a woman, but
Yeah.
in a male body.
In a male body, right. So like, yeah, it's like I'm not male. There's no part of me that's male. Okay, it's all female. It's all feminine from the beginning. It's been feminine. It's my belief. That's my understanding of my own gender. That I've been feminine since the beginning. I've attracted to boys since the beginning, and women because I'm pansexual. But since the beginning, since I can ever remember, I've remembered these things about myself, immutable characteristics about me, and at no point when realizing and coming out as trans, like I already realized it like 1,000 times growing up, but like actually being able to realize it on my own and allowed to enact coming out of the closet, at no point did I be like, oh man, but it's a boy's body that I'm in. There might have been some times where I've been confused and I've been like, man, I hate my body and like it sucks and I have dysphoria and I don't want to live anymore and I have like body dysmorphia. That's something I struggle with every day. But at the same time, it's not like this is a man's body, because I look at men, any man at all, I don't look like them. Like, it doesn't matter if he's chubby. It doesn't matter if he's skinny. It doesn't matter if he's muscly. It doesn't matter if like, I never look like my boyfriend. Ever. I've never once looked like my boyfriend. There are femboys and feminine people who like look feminine but still identify as boys, because they live as boys and they like enjoy being boys. But that doesn't make their body a woman's body. I've met femboys with like thick ass, like huge ass and great boobs, but they're not women. They don't have women's bodies. I'm a woman with not a thick ass, and that's fine. That's just fine. Still a woman. Plenty of women don't have thick asses. Nerds unite. Fuck it. Fuck this conversation, bro.
Body, and their brain was identical to Arnold Schwarzenegger's brain, the most male brain that we have. You wouldn't say, well, no, actually, according to your brain scan, you're not trans.
Exactly.
So I don't think it actually matters. That again, this just feels like
the brain
Sure,
doesn't
so
matter,
I-
bro.
okay,
The
so
brain inside the
I'm
shape of
not-
the brain
that-
doesn't matter, bro.
I understand. I know
we
exactly
all
what you're
agree
gonna
on
say.
that.
Okay, so
okay.
Destiny's gonna be
I don't know
weird.
what you've heard about me, or if you've only seen my one argument, you might think that I'm a certain way. So this conversation might be very not as much fun for you. I'm not going to be like as crazy far left as 99% of people that talk about this are. So
No, that's
there
why
are,
I
That's
want to
why
talk
I'm
to you. I
talking
know
to
this.
you.
I know this.
That's
about
why
I
I'm
will
talking
tell
to
you
you,
that
bro,
what you're
because
saying
I knew you
is
wouldn't talk
true,
over me, even
and
though
I
I'm
will
a
say a
super.
controversial and cancelable statement that there probably are some trans people that aren't trans. They're probably confused or they have other issues and they don't realize it. Just playing a
there's
numbers
all-
game, there must be. And
There's
I will
straight
also
people
say,
that aren't
Yeah,
straight.
and
there's
there
gay
must be
people that
For
aren't
cis
gay. There's
people
been-
that aren't
you can't
cis,
decide what you want.
right?
yeah, and I'll
We
also
have to
say
agree
there
on that
probably would
too.
be some people that if you showed them, let's say if there was a 100% conclusive, this is what a trans
Why
brain
didn't you
looks
mention
like,
it, though?
that there would be a large section of people on the left that would say, well, just because they don't have a trans brain doesn't mean you say they can't be trans. If they want to self-ID some way, they can.
Sure.
So
Okay,
I'll make all those concessions to you, but let me just, on the end of this, I'll make all those concessions to you, but on the end of this, unfortunately, it's not really possible to, it's a good thought experiment. It's not really possible in the real world to attack somebody on this front because we don't usually scan people's brains till they're dead. Like we can't like cut.
Okay, microphone
I'm
went
open to
off
see
for a
for
second?
Yeah,
science
yeah.
destruction
I don't
shit,
want to
yeah.
attack anybody. I'm just saying I'm making a point that
Sure.
the engine of progress,
Yes.
science, is
Man, I
a
hate
thing
him.
they put on the front of it that makes it break through shit more easily.
Sure.
But if you take the thing off, it'll keep going. It doesn't matter. And so this is what I'm saying.
Of course it will
I'm
keep
not
going
like a
because the whole
psychologist. I
thing.
have a
Oh
degree in
man,
psychology,
do you
and I've
want
looked at a lot
science
of
to?
studies enough
Okay.
so that I can look at the stuff you're talking about and say like,
Oh, we're at 30, so we have plenty of time to pause now. I mean, we paused all throughout up until here. We're only at 30 minutes, Brett. I'm so sorry. We haven't even made it to the rest of the 2 hours, but I'm telling you, we don't need the scientists to come out of what they're studying to be like, oh yes, I approve of this. Oh yes, this is accurate. They're fucking miles away. Fucking who cares if they're transphobic or not? Or maybe they're in my city. Maybe there's a scientist down the road. If I went to him and I'd be like, is this guy correct? Is science not like following gender? He's like, no. Like I don't really care. Like I don't have an opinion. Like I'm a scientist. I don't fucking care. Okay, leave me alone. That's probably what he'd say. But and even if we had a guy who was actually interested and he was a scientist, he'd be like, yeah, it follows science because it's like facts. Like you can't change the facts that there are genders all over the place and that people identify all over the place and they actually belong to these genders. Like it's very clear. Like you can't immute facts just because you're not comfortable with it or you feel like it's gone too far, bruh. Our science has gone so far that we can see fucking black holes, which fucking defy laws of physics, okay? If you can't accept black holes, but you can't accept trans people, something's wrong with you.
this doesn't make sense to me, at least. I can't objectively say it doesn't make sense. But
Sure.
It doesn't make sense to me for this reason, in that if, hypothetically, we know that if we take a trans person who, every other measurement, they're trans, and then say, oh, but actually your brain your brain does match your body physically, that's not going to make them think they're not trans. It's not going to make their therapist think they're not trans. And it's not going to make liberals think they're not trans.
No,
so
it's not going to make anyone or
it doesn't
themselves.
really matter. Like it's
No.
some evidence, but it just feels like that's not the point, and that's not
No.
that's
It
not
never
what
was.
they care about.
Yeah, so there are two separate conversations here, and I enjoyed both of them, and we can have either one you want.
Yeah.
But the first one is kind of like the fact of the matter about trans people. Are they real, or how should you treat them? And the
I don't
other
think we
one,
should talk about that.
Sure. It's an interesting conversation. But the second one is kind of the meta narrative around trans people, or I guess we could just say the narrative around trans people, which is if scientific evidence were to come out to the contrary about some of our ideas related to trans people, would people on the left be accepting of that scientific information? And I would
No.
probably largely agree with you that the answer would probably be
no.
no. That would be my
No.
And I'll even go as far as to say that if scientific evidence comes out in support of the left's narrative of trans people, it would not affect my narrative. So I don't know.
Wait,
how
why
much
not?
that
What do you
would-
mean by that? Which part of your narrative?
that a male brain. Okay,
Is
my
male no
narrative
matter how it's
is,
shaped?
a male brain is a brain that's in a male body.
Yes.
There is no. To me, this is fundamentally
Yeah,
a religious
I got you.
concept that you can be in the wrong body. I
Yeah.
believe that you are your body. No one's in the wrong body.
Yep.
And we're all uncomfortable in our bodies. No one likes being in their body.
I like
It's
being
a
in my
death
body.
sentence.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I like
that's
being in
you
my
do
body
now.
and sometimes.
But at some point, you won't like being in your body.
Sure. Like when I'm playing League
Right?
of Legends. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. No, as you
Just
get
because
older,
you don't like being in your body doesn't
or
make you a
things go
different gender.
wrong,
Sure.
or you get
Lots of people have
diseases, or
dysphoria
you
and
break
gender
things,
dysphoria
or
that
things get cut off, or whatever, you'll start to feel like, oh, this isn't really me. And I think that's that kind of dysmorphia is a universal experience that everybody
Sure,
has. Everybody
but does it
pictures
make you
themselves
trans? Does it make
slightly
everyone
different
trans,
from
or
how
trans
they
people not
actually
true?
are,
No.
and then trans people picture themselves very differently from how they actually are. But I don't see that as a particularly unique experience.
So something I'm curious about.
Ooh.
Are you familiar with the term intersex?
Man.
Yes.
How do you view these people then? Are they just both, or
They're neither. Yeah, they're intersex. So yeah, there's another problem I have. Everybody has to be male
Oh,
or female,
dude.
and I'm like, no. A lot of people are neither.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
but I mean,
Whoa,
like,
whoa, 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 whoa. So you can accept that someone's neither if they're intersex or if they're like what non-binary or what? Like okay, so he's transphobic, but he's not NB phobic. Like the trans pill is a lot easier to swallow. It's like that big, bruh.
there's still the binary. It's not like intersex people have like genitals that are like alien genitals or something, right? Like they're still somewhere on that. They're sexually dimorphic. They're still on that male to female
yeah,
line.
they're somewhere in between.
Uh
Yeah.
huh. So
Why?
okay,
So
I'm trying
many
to specifically. Now I'm trying
Trans
to
people
understand.
aren't saying a trans woman does not say like, "Hey, I know I'm supposed to be a man, but I think I'm a little female." They say I
No,
am 100% female.
I am 100% female. So that's the thing, bruh. Why can't you accept that I'm a female, but you can accept that someone else is neither? Okay. Say I have this cookie, right? I'm doing a really dumb, logical thing that all these dumb streamers do. But anyway, say I have this cookie, right? I have a snickerdoodle. It's definitely a snickerdoodle. And then I have a snickerdoodle with chocolate chips in it. And then I have a snickerdoodle with chocolate chips in it and white chocolate chips in it. And you're like, white chocolate chips and chocolate chips? Yep, that's the truth. Snickerdoodle? Yep, that's true. Cis people, non-binary people? Sure. But trans people? Like, what? Like, where? What? Like, the understanding goes like this. It's like cis, trans, non-binary, intersex, and other. Like, it's very obvious the line of ascension and understanding. Most people who actually accept trans people will be more unlikely to accept non-binary people or xenogender people, neo-gender people, whatever you want to call it, neo-gender. They're less likely to accept neo-gender. Like there's almost 100% chance they're gonna turn away wall gender, and very few percent chance that if this person's actually open to fucking listening and understanding, then they'll uh the, they'll probably accept trans men and trans women because it's obvious. But being non-binary is not obvious. You could be a person with a vagina with boobs who dresses feminine and still be non-binary, and that's a tough pill to swallow. That pill's that big, right? Trans pill's that big. You know, I don't understand this man or his brain. Can we look inside? Ugh.
I am just as female as whoever, as any
Yeah.
woman.
Yep.
So I don't see how intersex. I see you're trying to get at finding the rough edges of my sharp definitions, but I don't
Sharp
think that
definitions.
it's
Oh,
in terms of trans people and the narrative about them. That
bruh,
is not
you're
part of
dense.
it.
You're so dense.
Liberals are not saying trans women are a little bit more female. They're
No,
saying they're
no
women.
one's saying they're a little bit more female because we're fucking
Sure.
female.
That gets into different areas. So I
It's
just
the
kind of want to focus on this.
facts.
So,
Okay.
let's say I'm just curious. I'll lay big hypotheticals. Okay? Let's say that hypothetically we discovered there was a region of the brain and it literally has an M or an F printed on it. This is deep inside your pituitary gland or something. I don't know. So it's in there. Okay. And they find this and then they start running tests on dead trans people. And they start seeing, oh my God, 99% of trans women have the F stamp in their brain, even though they were born with a penis and all that. And trans men all have the M stamp, even though they were born with vaginas and ovaries and all that.
Yeah.
At that point, would you stop and be like, okay, maybe female brains that expect female bodies can be born into male bodies? Or how do you view that? What does that look like in your understanding of the world, I guess?
Okay, so you're saying 100% correlation, and it is literally labeled,
or a 99%, but basically that we've absolutely determined there's some part in the brain that determines what you feel like your sex should be. Yeah.
I don't.
Oh God, the sex conversation. Sex.
Were you about to say you don't think that
overrated,
any
but-
part of your brain determines how
No,
you
I
should feel
don't.
as a sex?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. But you're asking me to accept it as the hypothetical. So my last question is,
Okay.
have we determined that this is a brain scan from birth? We're scanning babies, and then after they die, we see they were trans throughout their whole life, but the baby's brain, it was always there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say like that's a scientific
Yep.
fact. Do you still accept it under the basis of science, or is there like some?
No, that would be pretty compelling, I have to say. That's
My
Okay, I'm just because you mentioned the religion thing, so I don't know
God.
how
Oh,
like if like
dude.
epistemically you're valuing like faith-based arguments more so than like some sort of like falsifiable scientific
Disney
arguments.
just
I'm
got
just
him to
curious on
admit that female brains are female.
We're a
and if
long
they're
ways from what I
trans
just said.
women,
That
they're
hypothetical. I understand
female.
that's not like the world we live in today.
And
We
he
don't have
doesn't
that
even
information, of course,
understand.
yes.
right?
So if we had that, then I would
Ugh,
say
it's like talking
I
to a
was
dog.
wrong.
Sure.
It's like talking
okay.
to a dog. He's gonna bark no matter what.
That's pretty strong evidence. But yeah, the reason I'm saying it's religious is just the idea of being in a body.
Gotcha. Okay. So then I guess what we're basically at is you and I both exist in a world where, if we're being intellectually honest, neither of us has the answer 100%. I can't tell you that, like, well, trans people are, of course, real and scientifically and biologically, like, immutable, unchangeable, like this.
Why?
And then, if you're being honest, I don't think you can say, oh, well, for sure, there's no such thing as a trans person. They just need to be, like, changed a little bit when they're a child.
I'm pretty
right?
sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
You're pretty sure.
I feel very sure.
So
Man,
how?
can
I don't
Mr.
have
Girl
the-
get
I
any
don't have-
worse? He's
well,
a P word
you can't-
and he's
I
a
can't prove
transphobe.
that it's not
like he's
there.
just
I can't-
specifically
I
a
can't
transphobe, but
prove
not
that
an
there is no
NP-phobe.
M or F stamp. But
NPs are laughing so hard
I'm
right
sure.
now.
So then
Oh
my
my
question is
God.
going to be,
You're sure?
so I believe that external validation is really important. Like I need to be able
I
to.
talked
Yeah.
to my girlfriend out of taking testosterone when we first met.
Oh
Okay.
my God! And he's toxic. And he's a toxic. I mean, he's already toxic, but
Yeah. Were we going somewhere with that?
yeah,
Yeah.
like,
She said I'm thinking of starting a low dose of testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm non-binary. I
Yes.
want you to use this nickname for me.
yes.
I want you to use. Oh, this is
nickname,
her on my shirt.
real name.
I want you to use they them pronouns, and I was like,
Yes.
no, I'm
Okay.
not doing that shit. I said you hate women, and that's fine, but don't expect me to participate in your self-hating misogyny. You can hate yourself. You can hate your body. And I feel like, maybe you haven't had the kind of like freedom to do.
Okay, I'm almost like, I'm like about to step out of this video. That was a hate crime, bruh. He told some non-binary person that they aren't non-binary because they fucking hate women to be non-binary. Is there what? What? We're at 37 minutes and we're an hour 32 minutes of discussion right now. The things this man says cannot be recreated. It is only him, only he who can say such awful and evil things to people and get away with it. Only you can make the song "I am a P word" and I kill P words and claim that you're not a P word and tell someone that they hate women because they're non-binary. Only you, only you. Oh my God, what the fuck is this guy? What the shit is this guy? Non-binary person, get out of his house. Get out of his house. Leave his house. He's manipulating you. He's the misogynist. He's the misogynist. He's telling you what you are. And he talked you out of it? This will shut me up. This will shut me up. I have everything to say about this. Everything. This is going to be a 4-hour stream. It's going to be a 5-hour stream.
Do that. It's okay. You can hate your body. We can still date. You can hate your body. You can hate it every single time I say your name, but don't take testosterone. And I'm not going to call you names.
Don't do what you want to do because I'm a misogynist.
I'm not going to call you by your masculine nickname, and I'm not going to call you you're a girl. And she was like, I want to be referred to as your partner, not your girlfriend. This was like maybe 2 weeks after we started dating.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I don't want a partner. I want a girlfriend. You're my girlfriend. I'm not doing this.
Leave him right now.
Okay. So I understand the story, but I don't know if I can go or what? So are you trying to say that like by doing this, you think you talked somebody out of being trans, so they weren't really trans, so you're kind of like extrapolating this to trans people in general, or?
Yeah, I guess I'm saying in my experience is that you can talk people out of being trans by making room for.
I'm gonna show you how you do it. I'm gonna show you how you do it for me, okay? How you talk me out of being trans? You say I'm a man, or I'll shoot you. Okay? That's how you do it. That's... You can talk someone out of being cis too. The same way, believe it or not.
For them, as they are.
Do you think that it might be possible that and I will concede, I'll say that there probably are some people that think they're trans, but they're having a different type of experience.
I know there probably are some people who think they're cis, but they're having a different type of experience than a cis person.
They haven't identified yet, but there might also be some people that are trans that there is no other experience, like they're never going to feel comfortable with their sex or gender. Do you think that's possible?
I am comfortable with being female sex and female gender. I'm comfortable with that.
No, because I think that's kind of a definitional thing. Like, if someone is you don't have to be comfortable with your body. Like, I don't think that means that you should be in another body. I think it just means you hate your body.
Get this, all trans people hate their body. No, they don't. No, they fucking don't. No, they don't. They don't. What am I? So glad I picked this. So glad I picked this. So glad. Just content galore.
And like hating your body is pretty normal. Lots of people hate their body. I think of trans people the same way I think of like women who get breast implants. They feel that their boobs just should be bigger. And so they go make them bigger, and then they either feel better or they don't feel better. Mm-hmm. But I don't. There's no word for it though. And like I don't think we need a word for this.
Do you think we need genders, bro?
As like an identity? It's not an identity to want your boobs to be bigger. You just want them.
You know, some trans people like their boobs. I have some pretty rockin' boobs. I like my boobs. There's no point which I say my boobs aren't boob enough. They're boob enough for me. Okay? When I lay down, they pretty much disappear. Some cis women's boobs disappear when they lay down. Not everyone is well endowed. How many guys do you think want a bigger cock? Do you think we're gonna say that they're trans because they want a bigger cock? Do you think they're gonna take their fucking arm vein out in order to make a bigger cock so that they can be trans? You think that's what's gonna happen, right? Yeah. If men could make their penis bigger, they'd make their penis bigger, okay? And they wouldn't be trans all of a sudden, and that wouldn't make them a different gender. You're making a non-argument. This is not what trans means. It's not all about tits. What the fuck is this guy's problem? I don't even. Okay, go.
Do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say giving it a word and a name. It just protects it. It's like. I just see a trans person as someone who walks into a therapist's office and says, "Doc, I want to be a girl."
Doc, I want to be a girl. That's exactly what I said. Nope, that's not at all what I said. Do you know what I said? I said, Doc, I am a girl.
They have figured out, and this is understandable. I don't blame trans people for any of this. How to get more and more people to say that they are the gender they want to be said that they are. Give them what they want, which is hormones and surgery and acceptance. And I think they should have acceptance. I don't agree with giving trans people hormones and surgery.
What?
It's just like
so
no one will say
you'd
no.
rather me be dead. You'd rather me be dead.
Do you think that it's possible? Or here's a question: do you think that there's any like internal experience of being a gender? Or maybe a more personal
this guy
question,
belongs
like
in
if
jail.
you were to wake up tomorrow as a woman with boobs and a vagina and you had a woman's body or whatever, would you be like okay with that, or?
I'd be okay with it, but I'm a freak, so I don't think that.
Do you think a lot of people have internal experiences related to their gender? Did I say agenda? Or I mean gender. I don't know what I said there. Sorry. I saw you choking on your water. I got distracted.
Agenda. It's I'm gonna choke for another second. So say it again.
Go for it. Do you think that people have
Man, what a
an
pussy. He
experience,
sips
an
from a
internal
straw.
experience of a gender
Watch a real person do it. And I'm a woman.
that's like unique from your other, like, oh, like I'm a gamer, I'm an American, blah blah blah? Do you think people have an experience like I am a man or I'm a woman, and that's a strong internal experience that I have?
I was thinking about having this
but
guy
I
on my
think it's
show.
all,
Now, there's no way. There's no way.
socialized, mostly, like the experience of being a woman in Beverly Hills
Sure.
is very different from the experience of being a woman in like Afghanistan.
Sure.
Like to the point where they're calling them the same gender, it almost doesn't even make sense.
Do you think that even if the experience is socialized,
It doesn't make sense because society
it's
is
still
different.
a pretty real and powerful thing, right?
It makes sense because they're female.
Yeah,
It just does.
I think your gender is your experience of how you and others perceive the sexuality of your body. So yeah, even if it's socialized, it's still very powerful and
So for
real to an extent.
you said something earlier that I kind of agree with a little bit.
To an
It's a little controversial, but like I'm willing to bet that there are at least parts of our sexual orientations that are at least somewhat
He literally sent me
socially
spinning.
developed.
If I had to be gay, I could be gay.
Okay.
Then
If you're gonna put a gun in my head, say you're gonna kill me, if I
I just
Well,
made
but
this
to be
argument
clear,
for
there's
you.
a difference
Shut the fuck up.
versus a genuine attraction to the male body, right?
I don't know.
Okay, well here, let me. Okay, wait, that was a rhetorical question. There absolutely is, right? When you see,
I don't know. I don't know.
sure, okay, well, let me explain that. If
Yeah,
you
let me
see,
explain.
or I'm assuming actually, and I could be wrong. If any of these don't match up with your experience, that's fine. But if you see certain things of a female body, there's like an innate sexual attraction to that. So like nice boobies, nice booties, like these are things that as a male, typically if you see it, you're like, wow, I'm getting horny because I'm seeing things that are like, wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that versus like,
Go on.
if you're gonna make me fuck a woman, I can do it. Versus like just seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you
Good job,
sometimes
Destiny.
feel like that?
You made one argument. It's pretty good.
Sure, but it's a different kind of thing. It's a different thing.
But sometimes aren't you just you're
No,
like,
I'd love to talk to Destiny though.
fine.
Yeah, but like there's still like a difference between I am innately sexually excited by this particular trait versus
The
like
difference has eroded for me as time has gone on. I remember being like 12 and people being like, Keanu Reeves is very handsome, and me being like,
And
I
I'd
don't
go
even know
down
what
on
you mean.
Keanu Reeves.
I can't tell the
I'd go
difference
down on
between a
Keanu
handsome
Reeves.
man and a non-handsome man. I don't know why people are like really like Pierce Brosnan
even though
is
I think women are
attractive,
beautiful, I wouldn't go down and make
or
Nicki
Sean
Minaj. She's the
Connery.
most
That was a
beautiful
really
woman.
confusing one. People were
I
like
don't
Sean
know,
Connery. He was the best Bond because he was so sexy. And I was like,
Come
how
on.
is Sean Connery sexy? I don't understand. That's
Yep, yep,
confusing
yep.
to me. And then like
Sean
as
Connery
I
isn't
went through my
sexy, okay.
teens, I was like, oh yeah, I would go down on Keanu Reeves. I didn't know
Because
that
he's-
about
'cause he's
myself. But the
fucking,
more I've thought about it, and the more
he's young
it's
daddy.
like
You like
I
young
get
daddy.
it now. Okay,
Cool.
so I've definitely become gayer as exposure to like other people's sense of who's attractive has definitely made me gayer.
okay.
Okay.
So we believe that we can
you've been influenced
socialize,
to be
or you
gayer.
believe that you can socialize like a sexual attraction, right? Which I think I can kind of agree with. But like,
Probably easier to socialize it into existence than out
Why
of
didn't
existence.
Kyle Rittenhouse shoot you?
yeah, possibly, yeah, sure. So we can agree that we can socialize it, but I'm trying to get us on the same ground that we both acknowledge that there is some underlying
I mean,
real
you
thing that's
fit all the
happening
criteria.
there.
You're a P word.
It's not
Do you
like
have a gun? Please tell me you have a gun. Please start a fight like right now. Oh man.
like a sexual attraction is like any arbitrary, like, oh, tomorrow I'm just going to be sexually attracted to a
In a
woman's
video game.
forehead. There's a difference between like
Not in a
these
video game.
sexual body parts that we've either been socialized to find sexual, or like things that are just innately, like booties and boobies seem to be attractive to universally to men, right?
Yeah, well, whatever it is, it's big and
Universally,
requires a lot of
I
inertia
beg
to
to
move
differ.
it if it's movable at all.
Sure. So I guess what
My
I'm trying to get
boyfriend
at is that,
rather
like,
hit
if we
it
can
on me
have
than
like
he'd
these
rather hit it
innate
on the other
feelings
cis girl.
that
I'm
leave us
sorry.
attracted to what I would say are secondary sexual characteristics. So the things that our bodies tend to develop when we're in puberty. If we can have like an innate attraction to these things, Could we not also have, and when I say innate, I don't mean like unchangeable gender. I just mean innate.
You
Like
mean
it's a very
big.
deeply,
You just mean
very huge
big,
part of us. Yeah.
strong, yeah.
If we can have those kind of innate experiences, could we not also have an innate like experience of our gender that's also equally like very difficult to move, or maybe even impossible at a certain point in life?
Like an innate attachment to those, to having those body parts rather than being attracted to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think if it were easy to move, if we could talk trans people out of being trans, we would just do it.
Yeah.
You argued that it's possible. So please, take your gun, go to an armed trans woman, and knock on her door till she's harassed and threatens you off her property. Do not leave. Make your argument, and do not stop making that argument until you are dead. Please.
Or it would have been done by now, or
In a
even
video game, not in a video game.
yeah. Go ahead.
except I think I have done it. So I'm gonna say, if we could easily do it, I might just be good at it. I don't know.
Do you think there's a possibility that the person that you talked out of it?
Oh, okay. The good argument to make a trans person not a trans person is called the trans person a misogynist. Try it on me, motherfucker. Even with a gun. Honestly, the truth is, if somebody threatened me with a gun and was like, "Tell me you're a man," or I'll shoot you, I'd be like, I put my mouth on the shit, man.
Might not have actually been having a trans experience, but we're just a little bit like confused about like their gender and everything.
No. I think that's tautological. You're saying if someone can be talked out of being trans, then they weren't really trans. So then we're defining trans as you can't be talked out of it. And
Pretty
then
much.
then I'm like, okay, if that's your definition of trans, then there's no point in trying to treat trans people in that way, where not conversion therapy, but like.
So I don't necessarily think it's tautological.
It's
so
about
let's say that I've got a
quality
guy
of
on the
life.
ground and he's in extreme pain, and I'm like, "Sir, you need to get up. We need to move." And he's like, "I can't. My pelvis is broken." And I'm like, "Listen to me. Look at me. Okay? You're gonna get up. You're gonna start walking. Okay? We're gonna get out of this burning building. Okay? Now, either one, his pelvis is broken, in which case he's never standing up, or two, he just has like a bad tear or a bruise or muscle is hurting, and he does get up and he walks away." Just because I was able to say, okay, this guy didn't actually have a broken pelvis, doesn't mean that broken pelvises aren't real. It just means that for some people, maybe you can talk them through some pain because something isn't actually broken or fractured or destroyed. So I wouldn't say that it's tautological that a person that you can talk out of being trans, like, oh, well, you're just saying that every person you talk out of being trans was ever trans, so you're kind of like committing it.
That's not the part that's tautological. If the pelvis is broken, it's broken, and a person with a broken pelvis can't walk.
Yeah.
That's the tautological part, where you're saying that being trans is the same as having a broken pelvis, and accepting your body to some functional degree is the same as walking. And I'm saying,
okay. I walk everywhere in this body. I walk everywhere in this body. I do everything in this body. I made hundreds of dollars this week in this body. I did everything a normal woman would do in her body, who is fucking does the things that I do in the body, and I'm fucking more successful than a lot of other women who do this shit. So how can you say I'm not successful? How can you say I'm not utilizing my body?
That's what we're arguing about. That's our central disagreement, is that I don't agree with that. I agree a person with a broken pelvis can't walk. I don't agree that someone who is trans can't desist.
I guess I guess maybe we have to build out this a little more. So I'm working on a lot of like how would I say this? If somebody comes up to me and they say like, hey, I've got a way to make a quick, easy $1 million, I'm instantly skeptical for like a million different reasons. Like, okay, well, if you knew how to do this, you'd already be doing it. Why are you coming to me? What are the chances that I'm the first person you report? Like, it doesn't sound real to me, right? I try to look like, where are the motivations at? So for trans people, I see that these people have a very high rate of suicide compared to the normal society, and I see that even ones that aren't suicidal.
And the reason isn't because we don't like our bodies. The reason isn't because we don't like our bodies. The reason isn't because we don't like it. It's not dysphoria. It's not dysphoria. It's not gender dysphoria. No. It's not body dysmorphia. No. You know why trans people normally? I have a friend who committed suicide who was trans. Do you know what happened? People chased her with a knife. They chased her with a knife to a bridge because she was trans. and she'd rather jump off the bridge than be stabbed. And that's the reason she committed suicide. I want to... Okay.
Tend to be fucking miserable in a lot of different ways. They have a huge problem integrating in
It's
society.
you.
They have huge problems with
It's
themselves.
you too.
It's
It's
also often
your
paired with other
society.
mental illnesses.
That's
like,
the
not
reason we
good.
commit suicide.
So if it was possible that a conversation or two or three could talk a person out of being trans, it seems so much more likely that the trans community would have like discovered this rather than not.
But trans people don't want to stop being trans.
Do you really think that's the case?
Are trans?
Yes,
Why do you think that?
for the most part, because I think
Trans and proud.
I guess it's definitional again, but I think being trans is a extremely overwhelming desire to become the opposite sex.
Okay,
Aw,
I'm going to
man.
use another analogy that I know is one. Or I'm not
Please,
using an analogy.
please, Destiny,
okay,
please.
so you have you said a background in psychology. Have you ever heard of
They're trans
gay people
tomboys.
expressing a desire to be straight?
They're trans non-binary
Are you familiar with this?
They're
like,
all gender
concept?
people.
I mean, I
So-
understand the concept.
Well, yeah. So, basically, what it is you have a child that starts to go through puberty, and he's starting to notice that he's having an attraction to secondary sexual characteristics of the same sex, and it is a very othery feeling because it's not what your peers are talking about. You know your family's not going to be okay with it, and your friends are going to probably ostracize you as well. So rather than like saying that like, oh, I love being gay, it's awesome, I want to be gay, I want to have sex with men, the prevailing thought is like, fuck, I wish I was just normal. I hate that I'm having these feelings. Could that not
Yep.
be possible with trans people?
Yep.
Or pedophilia.
Sure, pedophilia could be another example as well, sure.
But the difference is that being trans is an overwhelming desire to become.
Well,
It is-
wait,
it
an
is
overwhelming desire
inherent-
for what to
Pedophilia is
become.
gay-like.
To
It's
become
kind of
a
gay-like,
woman
guys.
or to become a
It's
man.
kind of gay to be pedophile.
Yeah, but I think the
There's a
distinction.
desire-
So this is kind of this might be the center point of our disagreement. It's not to become a woman or a man. It's to make your body
You know,
match
it's a lot of
what
women
you
that-
think you already are. Because a
lot of
trans
young women
person,
who have
my understanding
Oh, I
is
know,
experience
I know what
pedophiles,
their
a lot of
narrative.
women.
I know the
A lot of
narrative of a
women.
trans person is that you believe that you already are. Oh, if I'm
sister-
trans, I believe I'm already a woman, and I want to make my body match my internal experience or my brain. I understand that is the trans
man.
person's definition of being trans.
I've never
But
hated
I
someone
reject
so
that
much.
definition.
I've never hated
Okay,
someone
well,
so
I
much.
think-
Say it again, idiot.
My
I've
body.
never
My understanding
hated
is
Oh, I
this
know.
is-
I know
yeah.
what their narrative. I know the narrative of a trans person is that you believe that you already are. If I'm
Yes.
trans, I believe I'm already a woman,
I already
and I
am.
want to make my body match my internal experience or my brain.
No,
I
no,
understand
no,
that.
no. I don't want to make my body match anything, okay? I don't want to be like a cis woman, alright? There was a time in my life where I was like, oh man, if I could just turn into a cis woman, man, but no, at this point, I'm proud of being trans, and I like other trans people being successful, and I'm like, yes, I take power in that. It's like a black person being like, man, if I could just be like suddenly white, then everyone would just accept me. But like, am I gonna like change myself to be more white like for me? Like, no, it's society forcing me to be more white like. It's not me. You know, like I'm willing to bet the majority of trans people wouldn't change a damn thing about themselves. A lot of them wouldn't change a damn thing about themselves. They'd only tell other people they are this way. You know? Some of us want to have boobs and a vagina and all these things. It's not matching. We will never. I will never look like a cis woman. I will never be a cis woman. I will always be a trans woman, and there will be no point in which fuck Blair White, by the way. But there will be no point at which I will match a cis woman. Never gonna happen. Never ever. Not even a cis woman with augmentation. No matter how close we look like. No matter how close. Okay. I'm not trying to match anything. I'm not trying to match an ideal. All right. Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to progress in my life the way I want to progress, and the changes I make to my body are part of my progression. Some trans people never take hormones. That's the facts, bruh.
That is the trans person's definition of being trans. But I reject that.
That is your definition of a trans person's definition of being trans. Because my definition of being trans is nothing like your bullshit cis definition, my idiot.
definition.
Okay,
I
well,
think
that's kind of like
because-
that's where our disagreement is then, right? Because if I accept your rejection of that definition from there, then everything you're saying is almost deductively necessarily true, right?
yes, exactly. So if you would just do that, this would be a lot easier.
Yeah, necessarily
Wait.
true. Accept your rejection of that definition from there, then everything you're saying is almost deductively necessarily true, right?
Yes, exactly. So if you would just do that, this would be a lot easier.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
so
so if you
yeah.
want to, if you reject my rejection, then here's how I would frame it.
We're gonna get to an hour, then I'm gonna piss.
The trans person
Or an hour and 22.
believes, like if I'm gay, I'm still Max. I'm just Max who wants to fuck guys, right? And I don't, and my community doesn't want me to be Max who wants to fuck guys, and so, but that's just part of me. But
That restricts
it-
you.
for a trans
From being
person,
gay and being
they change
Max.
their name, they change their looks, they change at a fucking molecular level, or cellular level at least. They want to transform their bodies. So I still think it's different.
Not
in
all
that
of us, bruh. Not all. Not all.
You
Some
can.
do want to change sometimes. In some
I could
ways.
be gay or I could be straight, and it would change that.
You know
part
what was
of
enough
my
for
life.
me? Okay, here, I'll just tell you as a trans person, what was enough for me. Dressing. That was enough for me. I was like, oh, I'm never gonna take hormones, but yeah, I like these clothing, and I'm a woman. That's about it. That's where I started. My progression happened to be this way, but if you were to call me not trans because I'm not transitioning enough, bruh, dude, you're telling me, oh my god, you're not cis enough. Okay, you're not cis enough for me. You're not cis enough for me, cause only pussy men will drink from a fucking straw, and that's my opinion. And if you're a pussy man, then you're a pussy man, and that's my fucking opinion, man. You know, you're not cis enough. You're more trans than you're cis. How stupid does that sound, bruh? That sounds so stupid. Who's calling me? What? Stop. Okay. I'm dumbfounded. I'm dumb. Okay, actually, an hour 26 minutes.
Life and that part
Because
of
then we
me.
have an hour left.
But it's not a holistic alteration of my body and identity. Whereas I think that trans people want. I don't think they want to. It's a desire to travel from here to here, and they want to be here. I mean, if to stop being trans is easy. You just have to not do that.
To not be cis is easy. You just have to stop doing that. Like, does that sound reasonable to you? Like a cis person wants to be from here to here. You know, they imagine in 20 years they'll be over here and they'll be cis. All you have to do is stop doing that. Like, that's a stupid fallacy argument. You know, I don't want to be here, bruh. I want to be right here, bruh, in the next step, okay? That's where I want to be. I don't want to be fucking in a black hole somewhere where your fantasy land is fucking all powerful and all ruling. I really don't. I have no interest. I have no interest in being that kind of trans person where they want to be from here to here, alright? I want to be right here as a trans person, okay? In this second, in this moment, I want to be in the next step as a trans person. Okay? It's because of who I am. It's not like I get to decide, but I don't want to be over here, okay? I don't want to be. I don't. And I'm trans, and you're an idiot, and I want to kill you.
Yeah, but I think
And then you won't be trans. You'll just be really uncomfortable, and you'll hate yourself, and like.
But I think the
you'll
problem
wanna
is that
die.
like our sexuality, or I'm
And then
sorry,
that's
our
it. You'll just
sexual
wanna die and kill yourself.
orientation is only experienced in some facets of our life at some points in time, whereas our like gender or sex is something that is like omnipresent. It's basically with you from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, and it affects every single facet of your life. If I'm gay, I can go into certain areas and nobody will know that I'm gay. I don't have an outward appearance about it. Nobody has to know.
Yes.
Whereas if I'm
Yes,
a man or a
Destiny,
woman,
yes.
every single part of my interaction with society will be dictated to some extent
Yes.
on my gender expression. And if I'm
And
gay,
I
it doesn't
assume
matter
that's
what.
part of what makes it so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's part of what means why they have to change so much. It's not just a simple thing like, oh, my orientation is a little different, you know?
I think I think also when you're gay, it's not like you're so upset that like you're not having sex with a man, right? Like horniness can be uncomfortable.
When you're trans, it's not like you're so upset with your body. It's not like that. It's not. It's not, my man. It's not. It's just not. Okay.
Sexually towards other people, I think. But when you're trans, it's like you're in a frying pan, and the frying pan is your own body and the reality of your own body, and wanting to get out. It is discomfort with your own body. I think that this dysphoria that is usually propelling the actions of a trans person. So that's why I'm saying I don't think trans people really want to stop being trans, because
sometimes
to
not
me,
all.
if you're in the frying pan and you're not doing anything about it, then you're not trans. You just hate your body and you wish or believe that you're
Kind of, yeah. So
it's different from how it should be. And so
kind-
who wants to just sit in the frying pan and like boil?
yeah,
Like,
we
no,
just. I understand what you're saying, but we stumbled onto that thing earlier where it's a very fine point. But when you say they don't want to stop being trans, we're bumping into that foundational disagreement they have.
the
where,
rejection. Yeah. You're
Are
right.
they?
Okay.
Because in my point of view, they are trans, and now it's about matching the body to the mind. But in your point of view, there's a whole thing,
It's
and you
not
either
about matching the
become
body to the mind
trans
either,
or you
Destiny.
aren't
I'm sorry.
trans. That underlying
but
fact of the matter isn't already there, right?
But but for your point, you're making a leap that I can't follow, which is that the broken pelvis thing, which is that a trans person,
Is immutably
if they
trans.
can actually learn without altering their
Go.
hormones or surgery, which are the only two things I'm really pushing back against. I guess my main problems are
Oh man, the only two things I'm pushing back against black people is like being able to use fucking the same bathrooms and sinks in the same society. That's all I'm pushing back against. Like years from now, we will look at this guy and we will be like wow, like he belonged in jail. Like wow, he promotes trans suicide. And like so what, you're gonna commit suicide one day because the societal pressure is so awful that you have to be someone that you're not, you have to pretend to be someone that you're not, and that eventually you kill yourself because just everywhere you go people threaten you with knives and other things when you express yourself as a normal person, like I have been. It's like a trans experience. It's a weird trans experience to be threatened, your life threatened. It's like, it's probably a black experience too, I'm willing to bet. Man, ooh, I'm gonna look back at this VOD and I'm gonna praise myself. How did I sit through this so long? It's been 2 hours. Ooh.
punishing people for not referring to you the way you want them to, using surgery and using hormones. Those are the things
only
I
didn't have an
disagree with.
opinion
Everything
to
else
veto
about being
over.
trans, I'm on board with. Or everything else, I guess, about accepting trans people into society or adjusting, making room for them. I guess I'm on board with everything else. But the leap you're making is that if you can be calmed down, and if you can realize
Calm down. You're not cis. Okay, calm down. Okay, you're a femboy. You're a femboy, Mr. Girl. Calm down.
actually you don't need to escape your gender or your body,
You don't need to, Mr. Girl. You don't
then
need to
you
be a
weren't really
girl. Okay,
trans.
you're
I don't
you're a
agree with
femboy,
that.
Mr. Girl.
I don't think that
You're a
I don't agree
femboy.
with your definition of trans as like that can't be accomplished.
Yeah, so let me just put forth this is so that we're on the same page, or we both understand what we're talking about. So this is my understanding of trans people, okay? And this is
We
this
don't
is
want
this
things that
foundational
can't
bump
be
that we're having,
accomplished.
okay?
We want to progress in
My
our lives like a
understanding
normal
is that
person.
we seem
and
to have
the progression
some
looks different for
internal
everyone, believe it or not.
experiences related to our gender identity, like whether we feel like we're male or female. That there's like an internal experience that seems to exist there. And some people it's very strong, and other people it's not as strong. So you said something that I kind of agree with her. If I woke up as a woman, I don't actually think I would care that much. I don't know if I had boobs and a butt, it's whatever. It's not like a huge part of like, I'm not super attached to being like a man. Some people seem to be very attached to their sexuality, their gender, right? So maybe this is varying from people to people. But for trans people, it seems as though in general, there is a strong internal experience of a gender. And if it's not matching that external expression of their gender, there is a problem there that makes them feel like they're in the wrong body in a way that like there is an internal fact of the matter about their gender experience and it is not matching their body. One of the best, it's just a personal example, so it could mean nothing. One of the best examples that I got of this was a trans person emailed me and they had gone off and on insurance when it came to being able to take hormones for their body. And they said that it was like, if you get acne and you look at your face, like it's gross, but when they would start hormone therapy, I think this was a trans man. when they would start hormone therapy and then when they would get off hormone therapy, just the way that their body would start to put on that very like feminine fat, that feminine shape in their waist and everything, when they would stop taking hormones for a while, it was like a cringing, like fingernails across the chalkboard type of experience of looking at their body in such a way that didn't match their internal feeling of the gender that they felt they were internally. So that's the position that I'm coming from. So in my world, and I understand that you reject this kind of foundational argument, but in my world, the reason why everything builds out easily from this is that if there is an internal fact of the matter of your gender, and your body doesn't match that, and that internal part, whether it's socialized or not, is really, really, really hard or almost impossible to change, then it seems like the easier part is, well, if we can't make the brain match the body, then we make the body match the brain. And that's where hormone therapy or gender reassignment surgery or sex, whatever stuff comes in. Yeah, gender affirming surgery.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, go.
And yeah, so my pushbacks against those things is one, maybe we don't have to make the brain match the body. Maybe life just sucks. You know, maybe life sucks for all of us. Maybe none of our
You have depression. Maybe life just sucks, bruh. Maybe you don't need therapy, bruh. Maybe life just sucks. Pretty sure untreated depression leads to suicide.
brains match our bodies to differing degrees, and we can't all have what we want. And the ways we think we're going to get what we want are actually just going to make us feel sad and cost a lot of money. Two, you're accepting as a
I have big
given
boobies and I've never been
the
happier.
extreme discomfort of your body not matching your sense of your gender, while also telling me that you don't believe that would be the case for you. I don't believe it would be the case for me either. And okay, have you met men who you feel like would be, or who are like super uncomfortable with being feminized in any way?
Yeah, it's a really common experience for men, I would say.
Okay.
I went to an all-boys high school, so it's a very common, like, hyper-masculine, like, yeah, it's a very, very big thing, yeah.
I think that is kind of the same as being trans. Like, in terms of the extreme attachment to your gender, I find that to be kind of a problem, even if your gender matches your body. I think that, I don't think that's good, and I feel superior to people who feel like that.
Okay, so
He's
so this
a
is gonna get really
supremacist,
personal now,
too.
okay? Wait, how old are you? I'm just curious.
36.
Okay. I can't give you good answers there, and I'm much younger than you. I'm only 33 years old, okay? So
Oh,
it's possible
wow,
that-
that's a huge...
yeah, huge
Wow.
gap. So
Yeah.
So here's something that's hard to consider.
Sonny boy.
It might be the case that you are somewhat of an exceptional person. Now, when I say exceptional, I don't mean great or good. I just mean like an exception.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll get personal here because there are some ways that I view life
Get
that
personal.
I think are incredibly exceptional.
Please get personal.
And it
Yeah.
took me a while of having a public audience to realize,
pee.
well, hold
Not
on.
everybody thinks that way.
Yeah, I have a wickedly different. The best example that I can think of is I don't have a strong attachment to my family, and I've never understood people that put up with abusive family members. And anytime somebody would ask me for advice on that, like, hey, what would you recommend? Like, my mom is like so mean around the holidays. I'm like, cut her out of your life. Why would you ever talk to her? Just stop talking to her forever. Never talk to this person again. It's so easy. And it took me a long time to realize, like, okay, hold on. Other people process things in such different ways. It's really, really difficult for me to empathize with them. So I need to like engage my brain a lot to figure out like, okay, well, how do you feel about this thing? Because clearly my experience internally is not the same as yours. And I feel, it's hard to say and it's a little presumptuous of me to say this, but I feel pretty similarly when it comes to trans people. And it's hard for me to say because I can't actually do this, but I really do feel like if I woke up tomorrow and I was a woman, I really don't think I would care. My masculinity or me being a man is a really minor part of my experience as a human. Now, maybe I only feel that way because I am a man and my body and everything matches. So that's why I'm saying it's a little bit presumptuous, but I really truly don't think I would
Willing
give
to
a
bet
fuck.
Destiny would freak the
But
fuck
it
out.
might be the case that not everybody feels that way. There are some people where some aspects of their life are incredibly important to them. That might be family. It might be their religion is a really big one for some people. Yeah. So I have to be careful when I talk to, so it's easy for me, or I don't want to say I see where you're coming from because it makes it sound like, oh, I know everything. I know everything you're thinking, but I can empathize with your position of it's like, well,
almost there.
I don't feel like gender matters that much at all. Why are these people literally like so distraught over it? But when I look at how other people act and I say like, okay, you're willing to
We're
fucking
going to
commit suicide because this is giving you so much anguish. Maybe
I
it's
don't.
yeah.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for that reason. And I get what you're saying. I've had similar
People commit
experiences where I'm
suicide, but I don't buy it.
like I had a friend in
It's the
LA
truth, but I don't buy it.
who was very religious.
Sky's blue, but I
And
don't buy
her
it.
boyfriend, she was forbidden from dating her boyfriend, and he moved to New York. And I was like, well, just move to New York. Like, why? You're still here. You're living with your parents. You're still here. You're like 25 years old. Like, what are you doing? And over the course of our friendship, which was like years, she basically didn't budge an inch. Incredibly miserable, trapped. Like a character in a Disney movie, where it's like I know you grew up watching these movies, you know what the right answer is. And that's another weird thing. It's like culturally, we do have the story of like, oh, you should defy your parents and defy authority and go be your true self and fall in love and stuff. But most people aren't like that.
This
They're
like ultra
very-
individualist, ultra liberal idea of like being a regular individual. One's like, oh, I don't know if everybody can do that. All the
Yeah,
time.
most people will just suck up to their parents until they're dead,
For sure.
and then have them like
Pretty
this.
much.
So I get what you're saying, and I agree that is a flaw in both our ways of thinking about this that were possibly just weird. But
Stress toy.
to me, I can see why I am like that. Like my mom's a lesbian, and I grew up listening to Prince and Madonna and Michael Jackson. Like those they were like the holy trinity, and then like they all basically cross-dressed. And I grew up in Amherst, Massachusetts, which is like super liberal. And so I had the idea of gender like deconstructed for me at a very young age, and I have to assume that that is a lot of why I think and feel the way I do. So I don't. It feels like you're giving up on people a bit if you.
Giving up.
It's not like an enlightenment. Like, I guess
Just
I
giving up.
When you say give up, I think I understand what you mean. It's like, well, hold on, like maybe these people could actually like, I don't say think their way out of it because it sounds a little bit like easy, but maybe if these people spent some time like deliberating on this, it would be easier for them to move in these positions rather than having to like go through these expensive
My
surgeries.
phone's
and
at
all that.
like when I first started my therapy, shit I thought I wanted was wrong. For years, I was wrong. I knew what I wanted. I would have done anything to get it, and I was wrong. Yet I needed somebody to tell me that I was wrong. Or it's not even what happened. I just needed the space to be forced to sit and have someone to sit with me, so that eventually I could find out what
Oh
I
my
actually
God.
think. It's not. I don't think that
He's
kind of
arguing.
feeling.
He's literally arguing for like locking someone in the closet, basically, and being like, "This is where you live now. Are you okay? Do you need any water? Do you need any food? You're not allowed to hurt yourself. I'm gonna stop you if you try. Until you change your mind, you can't get out of the closet. And even when you do, you carry the closet with you. Like, what? What? Why? Why do people like this exist?
Or self-discovery is fun, and I feel like we've made a kind of roller coaster for trans people that is fun, and I don't think we're doing it because we want to help. I think we're doing it out of self-preservation. Not you, but I think that our society in general is reluctant to challenge people, and I think there's a loving way to challenge trans people. That I feel like there's too often a false dichotomy of like you're either
He's lovingly.
saying yes, you
He's
are
on my
truly a woman,
show
this is your
now.
destiny,
I
and
have
whatever,
to.
and you
I
have to have
have
surgery, and
to.
we'll all pay for it and congratulate you and throw you a party, or you're a mentally ill
Okay.
asshole and I hate you
I'm
and you threaten my religion and
hitting
fuck
him
you.
up
And like
right
there
now.
has to be something else where we're like a loving boundaries of being like you need like you can go to Planned Parenthood and get hormones the same day now, and like people are fine with this, and it's like. If you're right that there are people who think they're trans but they're not really trans, which I believe is all trans people, and you believe is some subset. Either way, I think we both agree that you probably shouldn't be able to go to Planned Parenthood when you're 18 and get hormones the same day without ever talking to a therapist or a specialist or talking to anybody. You could watch a YouTube video instructing you on how to do this and have hormones in your system 24 hours later.
Sure.
To me, that's a problem, and it's just a symptom of there not being any way to be like, hey, like maybe this is more complicated, and maybe your feelings about your life and about yourself and about your body are all really complicated. Maybe we have to sit down and like sift through all this shit together, and maybe it's going to take like months or years. And then once we've done all that, like at a certain point, I like sure. I don't think we can like just stop people from doing what they want at a certain point, but like, man, it doesn't feel empathetic to. I don't think accepting people's narratives about themselves at face value and then jumping to kind of like drastic treatments is empathetic either.
First,
Yeah,
look
okay, so,
up Mr. Girl the Trial.
So, okay, let me paraphrase a little bit,
Just putting that
summarizing
out.
things you agree. Because I think you're largely saying things that I agree with. We've moved to a society where we feel the need to over-accommodate for every type of behavior, and people are starting to view challenges as always negative, when some challenging experiences can be enriching, or you can grow from and learn from them, right?
Yeah.
And your worry is that we've kind of like,
Can't
we've
find
taken
you
that
if I look
idea
you
and
up, my
we've
man.
distilled it down into such a perfect formula. We've applied this to almost every area of our lives, and one of those areas might be for trans people. So maybe you might say a statement like, okay, even if I agree that trans people are real, and even if I agree that they should have surgery, and even if I agree on hormone therapy and all this other stuff, and all you can treat them differently, at the very least, isn't it a little bit strange that you admit that there are some trans people that are probably just confused or whatever? Don't you think that there should be some barrier there or some conversation that should happen with a licensed professional before they get therapy? Or I'm sorry, before they get like hormone replacement therapy or something? And if not, isn't that just an example of like potentially being over-accommodating towards people's, thoughts and feelings without ever actually challenging them in a way that might be better than just them having surgery or hormone replacement therapy? Sorry, I was worried.
But yeah, because if you're wrong, and if you take your 16-year-old or 14-year-old to get puberty blockers, or you're a therapist and you approve this, like, what if you're just throwing them under the bus and allowing them to do what they are later going to perceive as damage their bodies? And some detransitioners do feel like this because you didn't want to have to be in the hot seat of saying, let's talk this through. It's going to be complicated. It's going to be painful. You're going to hate me, but I think we need to talk this through.
Yeah, sure. I don't think I necessarily have a problem with that, and I think I might even go a step further and say, actually, I don't need to go a step further. So I've gotten into fights a lot with people because there's a really big trend online of like helping people figure out that they're trans, and then like getting them all these like weird kind of like Russian sites to order hormones from, so you never have to tell a therapist. Okay, this is a big fight I got into with a lot of people, and I had issues with this for a variety of reasons. But I think that the problem here is that, like, I'll admit that sometimes people take it a little bit far on the left when it comes to this, but I still wouldn't go fully over to the area like, so at some point we can't escape this. So at some point we're gonna have to like pour over the literature and say like, well, how successful is it to try to like detrans somebody? And my understanding is that similar to like sexual orientation conversions, like taking a gay person and making them straight, it just seems like it's not very effective. It seems like that doesn't really work out that well most of the time. And by most of the time,
Yep, you can't turn a gay person straight. You can't turn a trans person cis. Okay, but um, I'm considering whether or not I should send this right now, and I want to send this right now. Like I am excited, so excited for him to detrans me, and I can't fucking wait, you know. But I'm gonna wait until this debate is over to actually do that because I don't want him having a colored experience of I say colored experience having a already like thought of or like presuppositions of me on Twitch before he actually talks to me because I'd like him to detrans me. I'd like to see him try. This will be okay.
You're doing it wrong.
okay, and that might be the case, but then
Part of the problem is we're trying to detransition somebody in a society that made them trans in the first place. Like
Society
I think that
didn't make
we,
me
as evidenced by
trans.
our all
I
school and
was
my
trans
experience
and
of
have
kind of most
been
people's
trans.
relationships with their bodies, we have
Ever since
created.
I was 5.
And I don't think to
Ever
make
since
to
I
our
was
species,
5.
but for some reason people feel super viscerally attached to their societally constructed genders and how that relates to their bodies. I don't think that it has to be that way. So
sure, and I might even agree with you here. There might even be some trans people that would agree with you. I've had conversations, and this is very contentious. It's very difficult. Sexual analysis is very difficult. How do you separate your internal feelings versus societally reinforced ones? Right? That's almost impossible to do.
yeah, you can't. I mean, there are
And I think you can find some trans people that will say, you know, in a totally different type of society, I might not be trans. That might actually even be. I talked to trans people that have said that to me before. In a totally different society, maybe I wouldn't be trans. Maybe I would just be a tomgirl, or maybe I would just be like a feminine man. Maybe just be different. Maybe I wouldn't have that feeling.
I find that unacceptable.
Well, so the issue is like, let's say that is the case.
Yeah.
Even if that was the case, now we're confronted with two potential solutions then to a person's transness. Either one, we figure out a way to accommodate them, meaning surgery or hormones, or two, we change all of society.
I think two.
Yeah, but the hard part is how you tell a person that they just have to suffer then while they wait on all of society changing to alleviate their suffering.
I'll handle that because you know the problem is if you don't do that, it's
There'll
like
be God for you.
it's like taking painkillers all day, and so you don't have to know when something's wrong. Like you can't. Society will not change until it sees the pain that it's causing, not just trans people. This is something that hurts everyone.
Does it
hurts
though?
trans people.
Or what do you mean in terms of does it hurt everyone? Cares about that? What do you mean by that?
When I see men and women who are so like in LA I was a personal trainer, and like female clients all the time would say, they would come in and say I want to be smaller, but I want to be toned. And I'd say, okay, so you want to lift weights? And they'd say, well, I don't want to be bulky. I don't want to look like a man. And I'll just see. And so I'd say, okay, so I developed this speech. And I would say every single female client wants the same thing.
Yeah.
They want to be more toned. They want to be smaller somehow, but also bigger at the same time. So you don't want to be bony. You don't want to be muscular, and you don't want to be fat. So you don't want to exist.
Sure.
And so if you have to choose between those three, which you do, why don't we go with muscle since it's the one that like is healthy and like works? And like it's just like clash every single time, and this like fear of appearing masculine or even appearing strong.
Sure.
I feel like negatively affects every woman, and then men, are terrified of being feminized in the slightest in any situation. I don't think it's really suiting anybody. I just think that trans people are kind of the canary in the coal mine that are like, this sucks.
Yeah, and that might be the case. It might be that trans people exist and have problems, not necessarily inherent to their transness, but they might just exist at a very weird intersection of like 4 or 5 other societal facts, and then they're like an emergent problem of those facts, where if anything else underneath maybe would change, maybe those things wouldn't be as big a deal, or wouldn't even
Yeah,
exist.
I think we need to figure out what those are. Like, what if black people wanted to look
God.
like, so they wouldn't have to deal with the racism in society?
That's
Would you be
what
in
I
favor of
already
that if they
mentioned.
could take a pill to
I
look
already,
like, so that they
I
look
am,
individually?
I can see into the future and argue about fucking his arguments before he makes them. Does that make me a superior debater? Does that make me a superior being since he thinks he's superior? Does that? I don't know. I'm not sure. That feels good. That feels good.
Feel the pain.
If it was such a huge problem, and if this provided like some sort of like alleviation of those symptoms or problems, then yeah, I think it
Racism isn't a huge problem, Destiny.
not as nowhere near as much as
You're gonna get
yeah,
clipped, bro.
I argue about this a lot too. But if it was, I would have a harder time telling somebody, no, you have to suffer through this because we're gonna make all of society better if you just wait, or at least your children will be happier. You know, I think it's hard to compel people to
So
suffer.
do you see a sort of insidious evil that I see in encouraging black people to take the pill? So if a black person says to me, I hate being black, wait, so you're saying you don't think racism is a huge problem, or you do?
Right now, I mean, I think it's a problem, but not as big as people complain about it.
Oh my god. Okay. Let's say, do you think it was a problem in
Like the early 60s, yeah, or the 50s, yeah.
Okay, so black people in the early 60s want to take a pill to look white. Do you see that if I am, say I'm a really white person, right? I'm not a Jew. Say I'm not a Jew, and I have a white
Racism
picket fence,
is
and I
still a
have a nice
really
white
big
family,
problem. I
and,
have to say that right now.
I don't really want the status quo to change, right? Because I'm on top and I'm winning. And then my black neighbor is saying, oh, I don't know if I should take the pill. And I say, oh, well, I want to be your supportive liberal friend. Of course you should take the pill. I'll help you get the pill. I'll help you get it as fast as possible. There's an insidious darkness I see in what we're doing to trans people, the way it actually
and
reinforces
giving
the
people
status
what they
quo, it
want.
makes it so the rest of us don't have to change.
Yeah, so this is something that I've wrestled with for a long time. The easier way to kind of phrase this is that, like, if we're trying to break gender norms, how can you do that while simultaneously reinforcing them with hormone therapy and surgery, right? Like, on one end, we want to say that a woman doesn't have to be this, but a trans person says, no, I have to be this if I'm going to be a woman, right?
Yes, although I think I'm talking about something also deeper than gender norms of
I understand what you're saying.
forcing people to develop a deeper understanding of their relationships with their bodies that I agree would result in changing gender norms. But I feel like there's a scary thing underneath that
why
that
does
people
he
don't want to confront.
Why
Sure,
is
it's
he
almost,
a
it's kind of similar to,
trainer
you've heard
who's
of
got
the idea of
bitch
CRISPR, like
tits?
gene editing and stuff. It's the idea of, like, should we let our kids, should we be able to gene edit like hair colors or eye colors? Maybe result in them having like easier lives, so they look more conventionally attractive, but what is the world you're creating if you go down that road? Kind of a similar argument to that.
Dude.
Because rather than forcing people to become comfortable having different colors of eyes, different types of bodies, we're basically saying like there's a one size fits all and everybody should be allowed to change to that, and we kind of like lose that facet of the human experience.
That, but underneath it, I also think that there's at the end of the day, there's always going to be that self-hatred somewhere. And if you can't sit with a lot of it, or a little of it, I just think that allowing black people to feel bad about their blackness, we've lost the ability to do that. You're not allowed to do that. If you're fat, you're not allowed to feel bad about being fat. You're not allowed to feel bad about anything anymore. It's not for liberals.
Yeah, it's kind of nice
not
to be
progressive
little
to say on
nobody
Instagram,
can kind of
like,
tune
yeah, I'm
into
fat
my
and I want to
stream
lose 20
and see
pounds.
what I'm thinking.
That's a hateful thing. Even if you're just talking about yourself, it's hate speech now. And just not leaving room for bad feelings about yourself, I don't think is good for anybody. And I think that the rest of us kind of get to skirt it if our feelings aren't that bad, or we have a way to cover them up. And I think I think that's a big thing that we're evading by encouraging trans people to just fix it.
Okay, we're an hour and 20 minutes. I'm gonna be right back. We're gonna finish this debate in high speed, and then we're gonna hit up Mr. Girl and we're gonna set him up for discussion. Okay, I'll be right back. Don't worry, I'm gonna be nice. Huh. Oh my god. Baby's back. Baby box is back. Let's go.
Plastic surgery.
Yeah, I think like on the broader level, I agree with what you're saying, but the problem is that we're gonna.
Then you have to tell individual people.
No, the problem is we're gonna butt heads again on that fundamental fact that we talked about earlier. Is because at the very beginning of this conversation, you said rightfully so, and I would admit to the opposite. That if we would determine that there are female brains and male brains, then trans people in society and a combination of them is gonna be like an inescapable fact. And if there aren't trans brains, then we need to work on some other way to help these people, basically. But it seems like we're running into that wall again because like
No. You gave me a loophole.
What was that?
That there are some people who, if their brains don't match their bodies, could find that a beautiful, fun, interesting thing that does not necessarily make you want to die.
Well, sure, but I mean, like,
if you woke up as a woman tomorrow, you would not experience stomach churning, life-ending dysphoria. You would just be like, oh, this is interesting.
He probably would.
So even if trans people's brains are in the wrong bodies, that does not necessarily need to lead to surgery, hormones, or suicidality.
Yeah, and this is true. And most, so I don't know how maybe this sounds like, maybe it sounds like I'm making stuff up, but I think most trans people would agree with that as well, because you have, this is why being trans is not considered the mental illness, but rather gender dysphoria is considered a mental illness. And there are trans people that don't have that dysphoria. Like, they're trans and their body doesn't match their brain, but they don't have like a severely horrible feeling about it. It's just like kind of like a fact of their world, and these people might not find it necessary to transition or something, right?
Okay, so yes, so if you, I think that's fine then. Then if they get surgery, then I think it's electives, or it's basically plastic surgery.
Yeah, basically cosmetic surgery.
Fine.
Yeah.
Wait, so what's there? What am I supposed to argue about?
Well, so I understand that there's some people that only do for cosmetic reasons, and we can both acknowledge that those people might exist. And
Yeah, so the dysphoria itself is not caused by being in the wrong body, if that's even possible.
Yeah, the dysphoria
is
seems
caused
to
by
stem from a huge
attachment
Sure.
to your gender identity.
But
And
until
that happens with cis people as well.
But until we've actually like got any data or any methodology by which to remove that attachment, it just seems to be too big an ask to tell a group of people
Why can't I
that are like
speed it
killing
3
themselves at
times?
unbelievably high rates to say like, well, hold on, chill while we fix society, and then you can figure. You know.
I think the suicidality also comes first. I think that's another reason I'm more comfortable saying
wanna
this.
be done.
Is
I
that I
wanna
think
be done.
that if you want to end your life and you want to kill yourself, a complete
It's not even like his arguments are hard to debate. Okay, his arguments just go like that. They just deflate. They're empty balloons. All right. It's not even like his arguments are hard. It's just that his stupidity, his prejudice, his disgusting behavior is just it's gross, bruh. It's like arguing with fucking I don't know, like it's like I don't know, like cuz I feel like I'd be friends with a mud monster, all right? But it's like arguing with like like I don't know. I think I'd even talk to like a bunch of congealed blood. Like if it was like, like I'm trying to find something that would be like so disgusting that I would like match up to him. I guess it's like trying to talk to Hitler, right? It's like, like no, Hitler. Jews aren't, you know, animals. Jews are people. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to say. But Hitler goes on and on. I mean, the Jews do this, and the Jews aren't this, and the Jews, if they'd only accept that they're fucking, they need to be exterminated. If they'd only accept that they're roaches on society, if they'd only accept, that's what it's like. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm talking to Hitler, man.
of your identity and name and how everybody talks to you seems like a kind of I'm not going to kill myself. I'm going to do this instead.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. At some point, we're going to start bumping into empiricism, but I don't think that's the normal trans experience. I don't think that it's like clinically understood. Like there are people that are suicidal who then just become trans to escape their suicidality. I don't think that's the experience.
I just think this.
Okay, well,
And
yeah,
so
but we have
how-
to contend with what is the reality. Because if what you're saying is true, then I
I
would.
don't contend with reality. I'm not trying to get you to agree with me. I'm just explaining because you're saying I don't feel comfortable saying to trans people hold tight while we fix society when the response to that might be an increase in suicidality.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying is like, do you know when I say deduction, does that mean anything to you, or deductive reasoning? Basically, what I'm saying is like, if I give you two premises, we can both agree on a conclusion. If I say all men are mortal and Socrates is a man, hopefully you and I both would agree Socrates therefore is mortal because the conclusion must come from the premises, right? When I say deduction, I'm just saying that like conclusions naturally stem from our like premises. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that like for some of the premises that you're giving me, if I were to accept these as true, your conclusion is inarguable. If there were a whole bunch of people
No,
that were suicidal and then they became trans, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just trying to explain to you why I feel the way I do.
can't
This is an
convince me
emotional
of
explanation because you're saying
anything.
you don't
That's
feel
the
comfortable
beauty
telling
of
trans
it.
people, or you think it's immoral, which I again still think is an emotional thing. You're saying it doesn't feel right to tell trans people sit tight while we fix society when they're saying they're in extreme psychological distress and possibly suicidal. I'm saying if you believe, as I do, that the suicidality is next to being trans or even underneath being trans, then you won't. That's why I don't feel that it's wrong.
Yeah, I understand, but like at some point, shouldn't we like check like the world to see like does our feeling there match like the actual experience of people?
It isn't. No.
I don't know that there's really a way to check this because I don't agree with.
Everything to do about being fucking
I
cis
don't really
that you're
believe in self-reporting.
oppressive.
Well, it's not kind of like we do self-reporting for
You're
crime,
white
right? Like,
cis people that
I
you're
mean, self-reporting
oppressive.
of who are you? What is your emotional state? Why do you do what you do? How do you feel?
well, but self-reporting is like even medically, like, even for actual medical conditions, we have to rely on self-reporting, no?
Yes, but
Oh,
that's-
he's arguing self-reporting. He's arguing fucking identifying your own medical illnesses. When earlier wasn't it he who said it was like bad to do that? What?
self-reporting a bodily experience, which I do believe in. Like, are you in physical pain right now? Rate yourself from 1 to 10. I think that people are more reliable for that. But if you're taking somebody who intensely has a strongly desired outcome and narrative, the problem with being trans, one of the problems, is that innate in the identity is also a belief
One of the
about the
many
nature of
problems
what's
about
happening.
being trans.
So, like, if you talk to like any other psychologically diagnosed condition, usually the person's reporting their experience, and then you take their experience, and then the
Sure.
clinician formulates it into
A comparable thing would be like,
Like,
let's say somebody looks up like this is what ADHD is, and then they read all the symptoms, and you're saying it's kind of like going to the doctor's office, and you're basically reciting the symptoms that you led because you already believed you had it, so you're always going to get
Yeah, I mean,
diagnosed,
we know that trans people on social media coach each other on what to say in order to get the hormones. Like,
Sure.
that's pretty, and again, understandable. Like, I would do the same thing. If I wanted the hormones, then fucking tell me what I have to say. But even beyond that, ADHD itself, at its core, does not involve a belief about ADHD. Being trans at its core involves a belief.
I mean,
And
I don't know if the point I would disagree with.
It doesn't involve a belief, bro. It involves a fact. It involves a fact of the matter. I am different than these other people, and I am not gonna be like these other people ever, any time in my lifetime. So I might as well accept what I am. That is. Oh,
the fundamental belief that you can be in the wrong body and that you are in the wrong body. So any questionnaires,
it's not a
from
belief.
interviews
It's
done
not a
with a trans
belief. It's
person
knowledge.
is going to
It's knowledge.
it's
And it's not in the wrong body.
Yeah, they're going to
It's
answer
not-
from that frame. And
it's
so, as
not.
the interviewer, I'm saying
I'm
my
in my
belief
body.
is that trans people are very angry people, like incredibly angry people, who do not know how to express their anger outwardly and turn it inward, and that trans people are very sad and want to hit the eject button on their lives in some way.
What about for
I
like
don't
trans people
wanna
that
hit
they're
the
like
eject
historically we can
button
find
on my
people that
life.
report feelings of like being trans?
I don't
because
wanna
like
hit
a
the
scientific
eject
description
button
or
on my
understanding of these
life,
ideas though.
I think Why does that contradict what I'm saying?
Because I believe that
there is an existing framework to
for
bind
them
to.
to kind of, yeah.
I don't necessarily. I do think that there's definitely a social contagion aspect, for sure. But I don't think that's kind of the core of what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a if you imagine someone who cannot express anger outwards, especially to their parents or teachers or figures of authority, and turn
When
it
does he
inwards,
go away?
and that person feels trapped and bullied and just desperately wants to escape their lives,
He keeps
I think it is
going?
likely, or it makes sense to me that they would
Oh
arrive at
God,
the
he
conclusion
never
of,
goes away.
oh, I'm not me. I'm not this way. I'm this other person. I'm a
When
woman,
does the
or I'm a
trans
man.
issue
That it's a
stop?
desire to get out.
Probably.
I understand, but like,
And I'm not saying this is provable. I'm
Yeah.
saying I think this. So if you just accept that I think this, I know you may not agree, then you can see why telling me, oh, but we asked them and they said they weren't suicidal. I would say, well, yeah, they don't. That of course they're gonna say that. Like I don't think they know why they're feeling what they're feeling, and it's the job of psychology to figure that out. And I think that that psychologists, with regard to this issue, are being uncharacteristically permissive in allowing the patient to define what's happening with them. When
Oh my
when someone comes in
God.
and says, I'm getting messages from Mars, we say, oh, we have a name for that, and it's not the name that you think. We there's a lot of people like you. We have a name for all of them, and actually what you're saying is not that unique, and here's what you need to do, and here's how we're going to approach this, rather than I'm going to take your word for it.
yeah, and I agree with you, but we're bumping back again into that descriptive fact of the matter. Because like,
Yeah,
let's say that there were people that had that
Talking
thing,
to
but then like, let's say we
aliens
started to
is
investigate the brains of these people, all
equivalent
have like
with
some
being
microscopic antenna that
trans
seem to be only in their brains. At some point, we'd be like, well, hold on, wait, maybe there is something else here that's worth
But we
investigating.
haven't found that.
Well, for trans people, we do see.
Trans people think we found it, and schizophrenic people think that they do think they have found antennas. You don't let the fucking patient look for the proof.
Well, no, we're
that
not
there's
talking
illusion.
about. There's not like trans biologists are the only people saying this. Like there are regions of the
A
brain.
lot of them are. If you in my research of trying to find out, like, okay, who's saying this? A lot of the papers are written by trans people, but that.
I mean, it's published in peer-reviewed journals. Like I don't know what the like.
Trans review journal. Oh, let me
No,
back up.
I don't-
I know. I said that's a joke. Okay, let me back up to this. You just accept the premise of transness more than I do, significantly more, and that I don't accept it at all, and you accept it.
Well, hold on, wait, hold on. That's not fair. Are you familiar with the concept of like Bayesian probability? So let's say basically
yeah,
both of us.
sure.
Here's like the difference. Okay, so I'm starting like I would hope that my prior assumption is like are trans people real or are trans people fake? And I would start at like a 50%. They could be real, they could be fake, and I will adjust my expectation of their realness or their fakeness based on the information that I get. And as I've got more information, so for instance, I see people willing to kill themselves over their transness. I see that historically trans people have existed before the concept of transness existed. I see that neuroscientists and neurobiologists are finding differences in brain structure between trans people and cis people. As that happens, my probability gets updated more. Like, okay, maybe I started off 50-50, no, like 60-40, no, like 65-35, and it gets updated. So my only question is,
Where are you now?
for trans people being like a real thing that like now this isn't saying they're born trans or anything like that, but like I don't know, based on everything, I think probably like 80-20 seems like pretty reasonable to me. It seems like there's like more and more literature that comes out that kind of like reaffirms this position. Now that's not to say it's impossible that that'll change in the future. Maybe something comes out in the future. It's like, well, actually, we found this chemical that makes people feel this way, and this can be changed or whatever, right? Yeah.
Okay, so I got one thing. If someone comes in and says Martians are sending me messages, you don't start 50% for that.
No, my prior for that is going to start out much lower. Yeah.
At zero.
No, never zero.
Close-
I think a really important thing for humans is you never start off with a 0% probability. Your a priori probability. It's always going to be at least
Closer-
like it'll be
closer to
low.
zero
It'll be like
than-
0.1% or something. Yeah, 0.01%, but never zero.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it will be the floor.
Close. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's where I'm at, and that's where I started at. And I think that we both agree you would be doing a disservice to the patient if the patient comes in and says Martians are sending messages to start at 50%, and then say, well, let's start collecting evidence and see what we find. That would be unethical to do.
For the Martian thing, yeah, probably because we've got so much other evidence already investigating this stuff in the background. Yeah.
Do you think it's unethical to do
All right,
that?
I'm at 89%. We're going
If
to
your
bed.
internal response, and this is basically an emotional response, is like, that's not fucking true. And you can say it's a logical analysis, you've arrived at this point, but like I'm an atheist, and like
Yes.
I don't care how many. Like if you talk to a Christian, they'll say, oh, I can show you evidence, and then you're just like, well, no, you can't. You're just gonna show me other shit that you made up or shit that you twisted into blah blah. But from an atheist perspective, I don't fucking care what you say. It's not true.
Yeah, but I don't think you should think that. I'm a super strong atheist, but I would never say that my like probability of existence is about 0%. I would say it's very, very slim. But I could be shown evidence that would convince me otherwise. And even you believe that. Like if God fucking
no.
you do.
No,
Oh
no,
no.
God appeared- if God appeared
You're more
in
likely to
my
assume you were crazy than not.
Of course,
Like, do you
I would assume I was crazy.
if I say like epistemic nihilism, does that mean anything to you, or is that like a jumble of dumb fucking?
What,
Do you believe that like you can ever know the fact of the matter about anything?
Stop proving that I don't know what these words mean.
No, yeah, sorry, because I don't want to explain to you like.
Of course, I know what you mean, but I think your viewers might not. So
Yeah, okay, that's right. Okay, yeah, okay, sorry.
What
What I was asking is like, I just want to explain something I'm condescending. I'm not going to do that. Do you
do you mean
believe?
condescending in a different way? I prefer the first one. I prefer the over-explaining one.
Gotcha. Okay, so for
Then I can just have a poker face and just wait for you to finish and say, yeah.
Gotcha.
I already
My
knew
bad.
that.
Okay. What basically what I'm asking you is that like, could you know the fact of the matter about anything? Do you think that any particular truth is knowable? Because my next question, what I was going to explore with you, but I think I already know how this is going to end. Because my next question is going to ask you like, okay, well, what if 3 other people all saw the same godlike entity? But your response is probably, well, I would assume that all of us are crazy and there was a contagion. And then what if I said like, what if 100 people saw it? It feels like your next answer would be like, okay, well, it's either a mass contagion or I'm dead and I'm having like a hallucination or something. Or I was drugged and I'm not like seeing anything real. Sounds like that's what you would say, yeah?
I think so. That's where I'm at with the trans
Yeah.
issue.
So
like,
my next question on that basically is that like, do you ever worry that you've established a world, you've put yourself in kind of a world where there might be true things, but because of the way you view truth, that it's impossible to convince you some things are actually true?
I would say that is a definitional flaw of what I'm telling you about myself. That has to be true. There must be things that are true that I can't be convinced of.
There must be things that are true, but you can't be convinced of those things. Is
Yeah,
that okay for you? Do you
I-
accept that or?
I accept that. Yeah. I accept
Why?
that more than.
Why? Why would you want that? That seems kind of bad.
Well, I don't think I can choose this. I think this is just how I'm wired. Okay, there's an experiment. There's a social psychology experiment. There's 2 that I want to tell you about that you probably already know them. But one,
Explain for
just
the
for
audience.
the audience. Right?
Okay.
So one is they have two lines on a board.
Oh, Ash's line fest, whatever, right?
I don't know what the fuck it's called.
Oh,
The
never
line
mind.
A,
Yeah.
line A is longer than line B. Is this what you're talking about?
The social pressure of getting somebody to say the line, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you have one test subject per classroom, and every other person in the classroom says the short one is longer, and they have to raise their hands one at a time. So they say which one's longer, and every other person in the room says line B is longer when it's clearly line A. And then you see how easy is it to get the subject to agree with the rest of the class, even though it's clearly not true. And it's not. Most people go along with it.
I don't think it's most, but it's a surprisingly high number. I think it was like 38% or something. But it's a lot. Like when the answer is clearly wrong, you can get more than a third of people to say that like the other answer because of social pressure. Yeah, it is a surprise. Yeah.
And then the other one is the smoke coming into the room test. Have you heard this one?
I don't know this one.
So you have a bunch of people answering like logic questions. Okay, and there's only one participant, and in the middle of the test, they start pumping smoke under the door, and then you just see and obviously the person looks around and starts getting antsy in their seat, but everyone else just pretends they don't notice, and then you see how long it takes them to say like, hey, there's smoke coming into the room, and it's like again surprisingly a much longer time than if other people are also reacting and saying, oh, what's that?
Sure.
So yes, it is a flaw of mine that there are things that are true that I cannot ever be convinced of, but the plus side is that I will never be in that 38% or whatever who says line B is longer than line A when it's not.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is I used to be very religious, and then I became an atheist as I went through high school. So this is kind of the classic challenge that I'm scared to resolve this. So I accept that there are people that think like that, and normally I apply this to religious people. And what I don't accept is that that can be a reasonable way to live. Because my next question is, what do you do if you come up against somebody that feels the same way, but they have a different interpretation of reality that necessitates like harm to you? How do you ever resolve disputes between two people like that? So let's say that they come up to you, and let's say that they know that they're living in the Matrix. They just do. They know 100%. They're totally convinced of it. Nothing you say can change your mind about it. And they also think that you're about to turn into Agent Smith, so they have to kill you, right? When you start to get societies full of people that accept that they can't really truly know anything, but they're still going to act on those convictions and give societal prescriptions for what we should do, how do you resolve those differences between people? I'm serious. This is a really hard question. Also, I don't expect you to be like, oh, you see this, but that's kind of
I
like
think democracy is a good one. Like if everybody shares the same delusion, then that's fine. There's nothing you can't do anything about that anyway.
Well, sure, but this isn't. We're having a conversation over not how the world is, but how we want it to be. Because right now, my understanding is you're not happy with democracy, right? Yeah.
Let me explain. If a chunk of people believe that you're going to turn into Agent Smith, but it's not most people, then it's going to be illegal to kill me. So we have cops and laws to prevent people from doing that. So they know I'm supposed to kill Max, but I shouldn't because or I can't. Someone will stop me, or if I do, I'll get thrown in jail, and then eventually all the Matrix people will either end up in jail, or they'll do what most religious people do now, which is say like, yeah, the book says I'm supposed to kill that person, but god damn it, I want to get home for dinner, so I'm not going to.
Okay.
But we use democracy and the law to say, yeah, you can believe what you want to believe, but if you act on it, like you're out of society. And now if you have a super religious society, like with Sharia law, then most people are either pretending to believe or do believe in whatever, and then that just becomes the law. And that makes sense to me. I guess I don't like it, but yeah. So my answer to your question is democracy, and just telling people like,
so you don't like
you have to agree with me.
That's new.
I feel the way about white supremacists.
Sure.
I'm like, you don't have to believe that I'm like not an evil Jew. It's fine for you to think that. I don't agree with the whole like punch Nazis or force them to think what I think thing. But I don't want you to be in charge of the laws.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the problem is we're not having a conversation over what society is. We're having a conversation over what society should be. Because right now it seems like we're moving in a direction where democracy disagrees with you because people seem to be making way more concessions to trans people than what you personally are comfortable with, right? So you're trying to argue against right now the democratic will of the people using your own kind of like existence that you yourself said is in some ways like unfalsifiable.
I agree with what you said before that the rubber band thing. We need people to push back against everything. And I don't want trans people to stop doing what they're doing. If you're trans and that's what you believe is going to make you happy, then I want you to do what you think is best for you. And if you're a trans advocate, I want you to do what you think is best for trans people. What I'm arguing against is one, I think some people are going along with this for their own personal selfish reasons and they don't believe they're doing what's best for trans people. And I think that's wrong. And I want to ask them to stop doing that. And two, I want to fulfill the role that you're describing earlier of I think it's going too fast. And I don't want people to agree with me. I'm not out to try to get everybody to think like me. I don't. It's not like the Matrix thing in the sense that like I would want that person to just change their mind. I don't feel that way about trans people. I might be wrong. And some of the stuff we're talking about really comes down to philosophy. And like it does come down to semantics and in the utility of the definitions we're going to arrive at. I don't want everybody to share my definitions. I just want people to think about it, and I don't want to control the government. I don't want to say you can't teach this in school. If most people believe this, then make it the law. Give them whatever protections they want. That's fine. I do believe in democracy, and I'm not trying to argue against the will of the people. I'm trying to be that nagging voice, or just, not nagging voice. I'm trying to create a comfortable space for uncomfortable feelings and uncomfortable conversations that in the conservative pushback, the Ben Shapiro, like I'm going to mock you and call you stupid and crazy in front of all your classmates and then cut your mic off. Like the conservative pushback against this is very unkind. It comes from a similar place that we were talking about earlier, where Ben Shapiro woke up in a woman's body tomorrow, he would kill himself. It's not what I'm advocating for. And I think what I'm trying to present here is missing of like, maybe there's a nice way to say no to this, and maybe we're capitulating too much and we need to look in the mirror and make sure we're all doing and saying what we really believe.
Sure. I don't think I'd necessarily disagree with that. I mean, as I said earlier, like the natural tension, everything is good and fine. I guess it just comes down to like how do we determine which statements we believe are true and which statements we believe are like about relating to trans people, whatever. Because it sounds like you have like a collection of experiences that you feel give you a pretty what? Yeah,
supersede all else. And so I think we probably agree more with Black Lives Matter, right? Like protests are good and riots are bad.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Right. But for some reason, lots of people are uncomfortable making that distinction.
Yeah.
Say stop fucking rioting. You're not helping anything. Is seen as kind of a racist. Like we agree that progressives have become overly permissive with regards to violence in the street.
Say that one more time.
Progressives are overly permissive when it comes to rioting and violence.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Right. And
it doesn't happen where they left, but yeah.
But even that, a progressive would say, well, so a black neighborhood is no more dangerous than a white. How could you, like, to the point where you're starting to erase the experiences of black people and even their problems and how carefully and you're...
Yeah, I understand. I've said this a lot, that sometimes people are so quick to try to get rid of something that they forget that they're conceding ground on arguments that they don't want to concede ground on, that they shouldn't actually, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just think that the right with Black Lives Matter is not providing the empathetic... I mean, no one is. The tension in, like, these political discussions is almost entirely empathy-free on both sides now about everything. So yeah, I just want to say that to clarify that I'm not trying to squish the will of trans people or progressives, and I'm not trying to advocate for the conservative ranting about how black people don't have fathers or fix your neighborhood or get a job or whatever. Just prescriptive, dismissive, unempathetic, shit. I don't want to do that to trans people, and I'm not advocating for that.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. Well, okay. I don't know where you want to go from here.
I don't know either. Wasn't much of a debate. It was almost like we had a conversation.
Well, I mean, that was your goal, right?
That was my goal. I've accomplished it.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Good job.
Thanks. Good job to you too, man.
Wow. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, any final words, any parting thoughts, anything you want to leave us with, or any other questions, thoughts, concerns, comments?
No, just that, you know. Don't punch Nazis. You empathize with the people who you think hate you the most and who you hate the most. That's all.
Oh, okay. Actually, here, because you bring up the Nazis and we talk about trans people, so it's all kind of relevant. So here's something that's interesting.
Like 50 minutes left.
There's something called, I'll explain this for the audience, because obviously you know about this.
Yeah.
Something called the paradox of intolerance. So an issue that or the paradox of tolerance, actually. So one issue you run into is liberals will say something along the lines like, we should tolerate all points of view. But what do you do when you tolerate somebody who doesn't tolerate your point of view? And people are worried that there might be a paradoxical thought there where if you are tolerant of everybody, eventually there are going to be people that make it to areas of power where they use that power in a way to become intolerant. And now because you were tolerant of them, you've basically lost yourself. So this is relevant when we talk about trans people. So
Yeah.
I don't know about your life. My life is definitely cushy now with how I exist. There's not really that much in the world that's really threatening to me. Regardless of political systems, whatever, there's not much that's gonna fuck with me unless something like personal happens. You know, systems.
I get a lot of death threats.
Sure, yeah, I get those too, but people on Twitter, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think that there might be trouble sometimes? So when you talk about like, oh, you know, just be chill, understand people disagree, like that's cool. Do you think that might be more difficult when somebody feels like the stakes are significantly higher when it comes to the conversation that's happening?
Yeah, that's why I said don't punch Nazis, because I'm a Jew. So I get to play the, like, you know, family died in the Holocaust, and I would be right there with them card to make it have a little more weight, I think.
What if there was a Nazi political party in the United States that had like, say, 25% favorability? They weren't like the majority, but there was like a sizable chunk of people. Would you ever look at that kind of sideways and like, or do you just
I would be super concerned about it, but I would, again, free speech and democracy have to come first. Do you know about the case of the neo-Nazis wanting to march through the Jewish community in Skokie, Illinois?
Yeah.
Okay. If we're talking about slippery slopes, like at what point in free speech and democracy, like what if somebody's like a racist? Like okay, like Nazis are racist, but at what point do you stop? You know, at what point do you stop? Like, why can't you just tell Nazis to stop being Nazis, right? Why can't we just tell Nazis to stop being Nazis and sit them down and change their minds? Huh? Why aren't we stopping the violent people, and why are we fucking being assholes to the peaceful people? And why do we have to make these fucking, oh, the left is going all so crazy with all the genders when you're like, oh, but the Nazis, they deserve to talk. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was a really famous ACLU case, yeah.
Yes, and the Jews at the ACLU represent their right to free speech. And that's the ACLU often takes hyper progressive stances I disagree with, but I always give them credit for that. That's how I feel. I would be disagreeing with the Nazis' views and fighting for their right to express them.
How would you feel if there were like pogroms going on where you got these Nazi people in office and now like Jewish stores and places are being destroyed and shit and they still want to go out and give speeches and stuff? Like maybe your own house hasn't been destroyed, but now like you're starting to see violence against Jewish people. Like, do you still kind of have the same blasé attitude towards it? Like, oh,
You could put a shotgun in my mouth and I'm still not going to give up the First Amendment. Like yes, I still believe this. I'm willing to sacrifice quite a lot for.
Do you think that most people would have that stance, or
no?
Okay. Because I think when you talk about like,
that's why it's so hard to alter the Constitution, because most people don't even believe in free speech for other people. They believe in it for themselves. So we have to protect whatever we think is the most abhorrent, destructive views. Well, first of all, I don't think punching Nazis stops them. I think that actually might help them.
Potentially, but that's boring.
Especially like somebody like Trump. Like I really don't like Trump.
Sure.
I think he's kind of a Nazi. Not necessarily his beliefs about race, but his authoritarian just wanting to control everything.
Sure. He's definitely kind of like a fascist dude. Maybe not full on, but like, yeah, for sure, I can agree with that.
He would go. If he could go full on, he would.
Absolutely.
He's a probing Nazi. He's not going to lead the charge, but if somebody says, "Hey, you're going to take care of everything," like our ideal president, I think, is someone like George Washington, who gets offered power and says, "Nah, that's not a good idea." Trump is not going to do that.
Yeah.
His victimhood is so much of what gives him power. So, one, strategically, I don't think it's good to punch Nazis because they get people feeling sorry for them, and especially now, anybody who can claim they're a victim is like immediately hoisted up, retweeted the fuck out of, or whatever. But ideologically, yeah, I don't think punching people stops them from believing what they're believing. I think you have to talk to them. So I don't even agree that it's not even a trade-off for me. Like I don't think if you start assassinating the leaders of the political party you're talking about or throwing them in jail, I don't think that helps. I think that just makes things worse anyway. So.
Yeah, sure, but that's the boring part. Because I largely agree with you. But what I'm more interested in, because for the Jewish thing, it's one thing. But when you look at people like trans people or maybe other minority groups, I think some of the issues that these people feel is that while you and I can have an incredibly detached and dispassionate conversation about these things, because nothing is really at stake for us that much, aside from things that, like, I don't want to say trans women, fuck that, But at the end of the day, it's not super destroying our lives. Whereas the people on the other end of the conversation,
I feel that it is
not nowhere near as much as it's impacting the other people who may or may not get treatment or medications or something, right?
I think the impact is less immediate, but I feel like this is part of what I'm asking of the audience to empathize with the people pushing back against this beyond. It's not just I don't feel like saying this. It feels like a visceral violation of my rights.
Well, here's a question. Do you think that whether or not a gay person could be married or free judgment in society, do you think that there's much risk for them as a person that's uncomfortable with gay people in society?
The other day. I'm sorry.
I think the individual has more risk, but the other people think they're going to go to hell.
Well, they're going to go to hell with the gay people. I don't know if religious people think they're going to hell if other people around them are gay, right?
I think there are some religious people who think that our society is going to go. Our kids are going to be in concentration camps. We'll get smote from the earth. I do think that there are religious people who believe strongly that something very bad is going to happen to them if they allow gay marriage.
Okay.
I just don't. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and like practically, I don't believe that. I don't agree with them. But from their point of view, they're not just doing it for no reason. Like they're actually really upset.
No, I'm sure they have their
really
reasons.
upset.
Yeah, I know.
And I think they're
But like,
pushing that.
even if I grant all of that, even if I grant every single thing you say that they do believe, right? We can still say at the end of the day, though, there's a difference between this kind of like theological harm that maybe you're gonna versus like my life right now is materially fucked and negatively impacted versus whether or not you think your future progeny is going to have or hell. No.
No, I don't agree with your dismissiveness. Also, you're comparing me to a Nazi.
Wait, how am I comparing you to a Nazi?
Well, you're in this example. I'm the oppressor, right?
Well, no, I'm just saying that in
For
general.
trans people, the way trans people look at me is they say this guy's spreading these ideas. He wants to take our medications away. I'm the Nazi in this example, right?
Well, I mean, it's not like a direct one-to-one comparison. I'm just saying that in terms of
Okay.
I'm saying that our relationship to this conversation is that of a relatively detached and
I'm
unaffected
just trying to
party.
fill out the analogy. In this analogy, I am the oppressor of trans people spewing my hateful ideas, right?
Well, that's a really loaded way to say it.
I'm not going to freak out.
No, I don't. But that's not even. I'm just saying that like we're having a conversation. We can. How about this? We can move off of this conversation. We talk about abortion. So there's not as
No,
low.
so
like when it comes to abortion, whether or not
I
abortion
don't
is
agree
legally
with you.
yeah.
I don't agree with you. I hate what you're saying, man.
What is that? That some people are affected more by this conversation than we are.
That you can dismiss the feelings.
I'm not saying we dismiss them, but I'm saying that there's a clear. It's not. There's a weight between one and the other.
I don't think you should weigh them.
Well, you
I think
have
that
to.
I don't agree. I disagree with you strongly. I think that if I believe that my neighbor, okay,
I
say
love
every
Destiny
couple of
more
months,
now.
one of my neighbors takes a baby, puts it on their front lawn, and cuts its head off with a pair of garden shears.
Okay.
And I'm like, hey, can somebody stop this? I can't take it anymore. And then all these women come out and say, well, you know what? You'll never give birth, so you don't get to have a say in this. I'm like, well, you don't care. You don't care about the baby. I do. I am being hurt by this more than you are. And they're like, no, yeah? Well, I was going to have to raise this baby, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're cutting the heads off in front of me, man. I can't deal with this. I would say in that example, I think that is how some pro-life people feel.
Sure, and I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying that you can't have a feeling about it at all, or that it doesn't affect you at all.
You're saying it should not be. You're saying it should be.
I'm saying that there's a different. Yes,
we're
the weighting
doing
there.
we're doing a big scale of like, okay, so.
Okay, wait, here, I can get a real example of this. You and your girlfriend, are you still dating?
Yeah.
Okay. There might be.
I'd wear her fucking shirt if we weren't dating.
Maybe you're wearing a shirt, she died, and I was about to say something really stupid. Okay, I don't know. Fuck. Your shirt says like save somebody on it. Maybe she had fucking breast cancer, now she's dead.
That's save Shayla. No, the shirt is save her from me.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
That's what. Okay, so yes, I am checking.
That's what I assume.
Okay.
Right.
So let's say that you two are having a conversation about where you want to go to eat. Now, let's say that she suggests I want to go to any restaurant, and you don't really want to go to any restaurant. You what?
This is perfect. This is what happens. She likes Indian food, and I hate it.
Yeah, and you're like, I want to go to a steakhouse or just say fucking burgers, you guys, right? Maybe something like that, right? Now, let's say that it's something where like you don't actually care that much. You'll eat Indian food, whatever. But let's say she feels really strongly about it.
This baby, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, life people feel.
Dating.
That's what I assume. Right.
So say that it's something where like you don't actually care that much. You'll eat Indian foods, whatever. But let's say she feels really strongly about it. If I have a relationship, I do have a relationship. If I have a disagreement in my relationship, I'm probably going to bend to the other person. If it's something they feel really strongly about, and
What if they always feel really strongly about it,
well, then we have to get into the validity of how that issue impacts them.
and you become erased?
Well, then you have to be careful. Well, I don't think that that's the case here. Now, trans people started to say that like we can't have 3D graphics anymore in video games. Then maybe, but
Fuck them.
yeah, then fuck them. Okay, but we're not at that point yet. Thankfully, the trans agenda hasn't gotten all that far up, so we don't have to worry
When
about
you put it that way, they seem
It
entirely
should be
reasonable.
3D
exactly. But I'm just saying that like other people are there are going to be things where
It
you
should
do have an
always
emotional
be
state.
done.
But
You gotta make some kind of.
other people are going to be affected by things more than you are. That we should probably be able to agree on that, right?
I don't.
Abortion will affect women more than men, even if men can have a very strong statement in it. And I'm super sympathetic towards men that have strong feelings about it.
I don't agree with that. I agree with that in statistically on average, but I do not agree that every single trans person feels more strongly about this than I do.
Probably not every single one, but the
I believe
majority of them.
I believe I've talked to trans people who are less passionate about this issue and actually might even feel less impacted by it than I do.
There probably are some, but if we speak in averages, because we have to, because that's how society works, it's in averages, right? The average trans person is probably
That's a big leap.
well, no, we have to, because we
I
can't.
don't agree. I think we shouldn't speak in averages.
But we can have
That's
any,
racist.
No, to have any meaningful conversation about policy, we have to speak in averages because we talk to whole
I don't
groups
think
of
this
people.
conversation needs to be so reductive that it matches up like a politician having a meaningful
Well, it's
conversation.
not about politics. We have to be able to have meaningful.
We're at the sacrifice of nuance.
Well, we need to be able to have a meaningful conversation about groups of people. I mean, we can't talk
I'm
about
talking
everything.
about individuals. I don't want us. I don't
No, but
agree.
I agree. But are we talking
about
about individuals or an individual? There's a difference there, right? You can't talk about multiple individuals ever. You're only ever talking about an individual because there is no such thing as individuals. That's a group of people. That's not one person. It's not a group of individuals. There's either a group or there's one person, right? Between you and your girlfriend, you on average both have half a dick. That doesn't make any sense, right? One of you has a penis, one of you has
I
one.
think we're at least
Maybe you're at 0.75. Okay, sure. But I'm saying that between the two of you, on average, right? You have half of a uterus. You both on average have half a penis. You both on average have half a ball sack. But that doesn't really make any
You're just
sense, right?
confusing me by talking about my balls. But continue. You're distracting.
I'm just saying
You're
that
trying to get me to-
what I'm trying to say is that like if we're talking about an individual, that's going to be different than talking about groups of people. When we're talking about groups of people, we have to use averages and stuff because it doesn't make sense to say we're going to talk about every single individual person. Right? We can't do that. We have to talk about averages. That's all I'm saying.
I guess I just don't think about
Destiny.
listening that way. When I say we should listen to men about abortion, I don't mean the coalition of men. I mean if you're at a dinner party and a man starts talking about abortion, I don't think it's right to say this doesn't affect you. Shut the fuck up. But that's what happens.
I agree with you. I think that's true.
Right. So then when you say men don't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect men as much. On average, yeah. But my problem is that people then use that fact as a tool to silence the individual.
Sure, I agree that some people do that as well. And when you talk in averages,
you are doing it.
How-
Me. You're saying that it doesn't affect me.
well, no, I wasn't trying to say that. I was speaking.
I'm a cis person.
No, I was speaking about society. Now, it might be that you personally have incredibly strong feelings that you're ready to go to war for about.
I am.
Yeah, okay, that might be the case. In which case, that's fine. But my question isn't about you particularly because I'm not as interested in talking about a society that's modeled around just you. It's about everybody, right? That's typically what we talk about.
What's your question?
Well, my initial point, I guess, if I run away, we're trying to get there. I was saying that generally, trans people and other marginalized groups probably feel like they have a lot more at stake in these conversations. So it's harder for them to just have a kind of blasé, like, oh, well, let's just wait and see how things go. Maybe try this, because there's a lot more at stake for them in these conversations than for somebody like you and I, who isn't going to be determined whether we like medical treatment or something.
Yeah, that's true. I think that is used to. I think the problem with a complex psychological issue, it's not even that. Like I think there's a lot of value Okay, so yeah, the downside to listening to people who are not in your group that shares your concerns is they might not give a shit, and they might just be saying it because they don't want to deal with you. And I would say that's actually true of people who advocate for your group as well. It's a problem of listening to your allies.
Could be.
If your allies have so much social pressure on them to be your allies, they might not actually be your allies. They might be placating you, so they don't have to listen to you or talk to you. With BLM, I think we both agree. Again, the allies are like when Nike changes its logo to a black square in a show of allyship, they're also dodging a bullet and trying to make some money.
Sure. That could be the
And
case.
that happens on an individual level as well.
Okay, yeah, that could be the case, yeah, sure.
Just tell me what to say, I'll say. And that's not necessarily a loving or empathetic stance, even if the thing they're saying happens to be what you want to hear.
Sure, that could be the case, yeah.
It is the goddamn case. And I think that when it comes to trans people, yes, I'm asking for some trust, that I am speaking from a place of genuine empathy and care, and that it's not dismissal. And the downside to that is that, yeah, you're hearing, it might not be true. I might just be saying controversial shit for money. And yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't even believe
it means more.
I might actually even believe you, but then earlier in this conversation you said that the problem though is that there's a lot of vitriol from the other side that doesn't feel that same way. It doesn't come from a caring place or an empathetic place. It comes from an incredibly hateful place.
Yeah.
So I think that's the scary part about how some of those conversations play out, that people aren't looking out for what's the best, more just what satisfies my desire the most. And for some of those people who are looking to satisfy their desires the most, they're not even really intimately affected by it, like the same way a trans person might be, whether or not they can live in the body they're choosing or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, and like what trans person wants to hear a potentially transphobic person, number 9999, explain their nuanced view when the other, 10,000 have turned out to be, oh, you just hate trans people.
Yeah.
It's under, yeah, I guess when I'm saying don't punch Nazis and like empathize with your detractors or whoever you think are your detractors, I'm not trying to say that there's, it's understandable to want to dismiss those people, especially if you feel psychologically fragile the way many trans people report feeling. I can understand why you would want to be like, no, I don't want to listen to this shit. I guess I just mean, to the extent that you can tolerate hearing out like a white supremacist explain why you need to be in a concentration camp. It's not, or dead. It's not the most pleasant thing to listen to, but I think that is our only path forward out of extreme polarization.
Sure, and I generally agree because I'm a really big free speech guy. I'm also a very, very big free speech guy.
I've heard that about you.
Yeah.
Your reputation precedes you.
Thank you, yes. But, and this is something that conservatives always seem to miss, and it really triggers the fucking, not saying you're a conservative, by the way, but for people that tend to advocate for free speech, is, to quote the philosopher Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. And it seems like people want sometimes all of the privilege of freedom of speech, but they won't take a look at the cost sometimes. And free speech, you must acknowledge, it does have great costs. Absolutely.
I am conservative on this issue. Well, conservatives don't respect like freedom of the press. In my opinion.
Yeah, it seems like it, yeah.
So that's my main gripe with them.
Yeah.
Free speech. But I think it is chilling free speech. I don't even like the word responsibility.
Well, when I say responsibility, what I mean is there is a cost. Like, here's something, right? The NSA and the CIA could probably prevent 100% of terrorist attacks if we let them tap every single device and give them unlimited access to information. But theoretically, yeah, they probably could. But that's not a trade-off. It's not one I'm willing to make. I'm guessing it's probably not one that you're willing to make. We accept that, like, we're gonna have some trouble in society.
Freedom and security.
Yeah, but that's a cost of the freedom of speech that we have. That's just part of the game. We accept that.
Okay, so you're not saying the response. When you say you should use your free speech responsibly, you're saying that from a moral perspective.
Oh no, I'm not even saying you should use it responsibly. You'd be crazy with it. But at the very least, you must acknowledge that there are some harms that come about as a result of that.
Talking, yeah, I think talking can be hard.
Yeah, and the issue I have is that just like how on the left, sometimes people can say everything is all daisies and rainbows. For instance, like when it comes to abortions, people on the left don't ever talk enough about how hard it is to have an abortion. It's one of the biggest reasons why people that are pro-choice become pro-life. Is because they have an abortion, and then when they go online, they see a bunch of dipshit women who've never been pregnant in their lives talk about how great abortion is, and they just had an incredibly fucking traumatic experience, and then they're like, this is actually horrible. I'm pro-life now. I don't ever want anybody to experience this. But on the flip side,
no room for bad feelings.
Yeah, on the flip side, conservatives will say things where they're like, or remember how earlier like nobody can accept that like being fat is bad. You want to overcome everything. But like conservatives do a little bit when it comes to free speech. No, there's no downside to free speech. It's awesome. Everything's good. Well, no, there are actually some people that can be harmed by things, some bad ideas, some bad movements, some bad things can come out of freedom of speech. But we have to accept that those are the trade-offs. Like, well, we want freedom of speech, but there's going to be some harm caused by it. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
So all I would ask for, and I'm not even, this isn't like necessarily super direct at you, because it seems like kind of makes sense. It's like, you have to acknowledge, I'm using you in the general format, you personally. Like, it has to be acknowledged that like conversations relating to somebody's existence or their access to like medical care is always going to be a far more like intimately effective, or a conversation that affects them more than an external party having it where you don't actually have that same incredibly intimate experience with that thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I agree with that, but I think that can also give people a better perspective.
Which part of that? What do you mean? Oh, to hear like an outside person's like their perspective.
If I'm gonna have a midlife crisis and spend all my money on NFTs, having somebody who doesn't know what an NFT even is at the beginning of the conversation talk to me about it could actually be more beneficial than having somebody who is also super affected by NFTs.
It's possible, yeah, for sure.
I'm just saying that it's not. I don't think that inherently means that an outsider's
is worthless.
Value.
Yeah,
it's just different.
I agree. But sometimes having the internal perspective is sometimes more important. Generally, it's more valuable, right?
Because I think what's particularly annoying about the way I talk about trans people is that I do keep mentioning my emotional experience because it is a strong one, and I actually do really care emotionally.
Which is fine.
But also about my own life. Like I do feel really horrified by what I see the political steamrolling of various like academic fields. It freaks me out, and it scares me seeing a future where placation of everyone becomes the norm, and like there's no place for me. That I do feel constricted by it, and yes, it is broader, and it's not entering my doctor's office, but it does affect me. Sure. I don't think that should be discounted.
I agree. I think that's fair.
You're just saying it should be noted. That doesn't affect me as much or as immediately.
Or at the very least, note the effects of the other side. You don't want to weigh them. At least understand that while you're having a conversation about your personal comfort or discomfort in living in a certain society, the other person is having a conversation about like their medical future. At the very least, that's what that's
I think that if I'm talking to a trans person, I'm definitely not going to talk about it the same way I'm talking about it with you because of what you said. I agree that a certain awareness and sensitivity needs to be brought into the conversation when you're talking about whatever any topic with the marginalized person that the topic affects.
Sure. Yeah, I think sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, anything else?
I don't think so. You?
I don't think so. Well, do you want to shout out your channel?
Mr. Girl.
Okay. What are you normally doing on your channel?
I just released a rap album.
A rap album.
Yeah.
About
So I made the Cuties review,
being
and everybody called me a pedophile. Then I made a music video called "I'm a Pedophile," which was a parody of Eminem's "Criminal."
Okay.
And then everybody was like, "Oh, you should. This is like Weird Al. This is funny." Blah. And I was like, "Fuck you." So then I made a real rap song that I just wrote myself. And then people were like, "Oh my god, this is awesome." And then I made a whole rap album. But simultaneously to this, I was making videos about gender and videos about Kyle Rittenhouse, just like kind of political essays. And now I'm working on a video about Stone Toss's NFT release.
Oh god, you hate NFTs,
Right?
so do you love NFTs?
I'm starting to hate them. The more every time I get invited to a new NFT Discord, I hate them a little more.
Why do you hate them so much?
The extreme opportunity for market manipulation and dishonesty and lack of transparency. What I've come to is the people who love NFTs, like the libertarians who love NFTs and who hate communism, ironically, are relying on the goodwill and good intentions and morality of their fellow man. When who knows who's bought a Bored Ape? Maybe no one has ever bought a Bored Ape. How much does it cost to give the appearance of buying a Bored Ape? $50.
Sure. Have you ever heard of the term like painting the tape?
No.
A long time ago, when stocks were traded, there was a little ticker, or there was a printer that actually like printed out every time a new trade happened, and to give the illusion, there's a lot of activity around a stock. You might buy and sell or trade between people over and over again. And that expression is you're painting the tape. And it's what you're saying. Yeah. So when you have somebody buying something, to generate like a false interest about it and stuff like that. Yeah.
With
Are they
NFTs,
just talking about cartoons
with anonymous
now?
wallets, you can self, and then you have the apes or an insider who's going to talk to me about it. So I've interviewed Stone Toss. I'm convinced that if there's any funny business going on with his NFT, which sold $2 million worth in 20 minutes,
Jesus.
he's got 200,000 followers. The guy ain't that famous. I don't get it. But I also am just I'm naive. So maybe it's true. I don't know. I want to figure it out. I'm convinced that if there's any funny business going on, he doesn't know about it.
Okay.
He was approached by a team that does NFT releases, and I've been approached by somebody who does NFT releases to ask me if I want to make an NFT. And we didn't get to the business part because I was like, I got uncomfortable. But I've seen multiple artists tweeting out, "Hey, stop asking me if I want to do NFT projects." It seems that there are groups of people going around to artists or YouTubers with like whatever, and maybe this has happened to you. I'm sure people have to be approaching.
Yeah.
Right. In Ethereum, got the other half. So like investment, it just happened at the end.
It feels
The people 5 or 10 each, and they're like, "Oh, they did pretty well." And it's like, "Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they did well, and then you sold them." That's a pump
We're
and dump.
done.
It just
Do you feel the same way about? I'm
We're
curious. Do you
done.
feel the same?
We did it. We survived. Oh man, how long have we been streaming? Almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. Yep. Cool. Okay. We're gonna go pee one more time, and then we're going to invite Mr. Girl to talk to me. I have to pee really bad. I certainly hope my mic has been working this entire time, and I certainly hope it sounded fine or all right, at least enough. But just looking at myself a little bit more chubby is kind of a different experience. I look chubby in this angle. I've looked chubby for quite a while, and I have an under chin. At least I have ass. Okay. I'm gonna go pee, and that was the stream, pretty much. But I'm gonna end with some closing statements, and then I'm going to try, like hell, to convince Mr. Girl to have a chat. Maybe he can change me. Maybe I can be a femboy for the rest of my life. What do you think? Either way, yeah, that was it. God, tomorrow's gonna be so much easier talking about Bada Banana. I mean, it's just gonna, man. Okay, everyone, I'm gonna be right back. Microphone on. What's up? What's up? Cool. Okay. So, got him. Beautiful. All right. That's obviously not the truth, but you know, it's up to me to believe. Either way, 3 hours and 3 minutes. Okay, we're gonna end the stream, and we're going to do another stream tomorrow, maybe. I'm gonna try and create some NFTs because I'm pretty good at creating art, so I'm gonna try to do that. Maybe I'll buy an editing software and then I'll edit an NFT and then I'll make an NFT and see if we can sell that. I'm gonna try and go for 250 for that currency thing. So I'm probably gonna have to save a little bit before I do this, but I mean I can still get ahead of the game and start creating my art. So I do 2D art. I've never done 3D art, but I'm pretty sure I could do 3D art. I wanna, yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Either way, yeah. Let's see. I'm probably gonna be talking to Aircraft Sparky at some point. We're probably gonna be talking to Mr. Girl at some point. So that's something cool to look forward to. Now, everyone, if you want to continue to keep up with me and the things that I do, just you can join my Discord. Oh, no, it doesn't expire after 7 days. It expires never. Okay. So here is my Discord. Now I'm gonna link you my Twitter. Twitter. Ooh, ooh. Wrong one. Oh, whoops. We'll just have to go here and find here. We'll link you to Dumbnonblonde here. And we'll give you my Twitter. Alright, now if you'd like to see my Twitter, if you'd like to see my Twitch, you can. So, yeah, I'm pretty much gonna make sure that this stream can't be seen. I'm gonna record it and put it on YouTube at some point, but for now, that's it, everyone. Thank you for joining. That was fun, wasn't it? Alright, I'll see you. Bye, everyone. Bye.